Chapter 12:28. Ao Ken sighed slowly. As long as Ning Cheng listened to him, it would be fine. I'll tell you how I found you first. I'm actually a descendant of the Dragon Clan, so I'm extremely sensitive to water-attributed spirit techniques. Moreover, during the auction, my water-pattern spirit technique spread over a radius of dozens of miles. When you used that space-sealing spirit technique at the auction, I caught a trace of water-attributed Dao charm aura. Ning Cheng understood and asked, "So, did you come here because you sensed my Dao charm aura while I was helping my friend shape his body?" Ao Ken nodded, "Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know that you were shaping your friend's body. Fortunately, you finished shaping your body, and I didn't affect it. In fact, if I had a choice, I wouldn't have bothered Dao friend." Ning Cheng waved his hand, "You can go. I'll pretend I never saw you. I just became friends with manager Shi Lin of the Myriad World Auction. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. Besides, I can't help you with my strength." It would be a lie if he couldn't help. Since Ao Ken came here, Ning Cheng could still help him if he wanted. Ning Cheng didn't want to help. He and Shi Lin weren't friends, but he had just entrusted Shi Lin with a few things. In any case, he wouldn't help Ao Ken. It was already good enough that he didn't take advantage of Ao Ken. Ao Ken didn't feel disappointed. Instead, he said in a deep voice, "It looks like I didn't find the wrong person. At least you didn't take advantage of the situation. Listen to what I have to say and what I can offer. If you don't want to help me after I'm done, then I'll leave immediately." "Brother Ning, I succeeded. Thank you." Jiang Man, who had restored his body, stood up and cried out in surprise. Feeling Jiang Man's peak Dao birth cultivation, Ning Cheng smiled in satisfaction. "We're friends. What's there to thank? Muyue is in the opposite room. Go and see her. I have some things to take care of here. By the way, take these jade strips and cultivate." After that, Ning Cheng took out 4 jade strips and handed them to Jiang Man. These 4 jade strips contained all the branches of the karma spirit technique. As for how far Jiang Man could go, he could only rely on himself. "All right." Jiang Man grabbed the jade slip and didn't say anything else. He knew that Ao Ken had entered. After Jiang Man left, Ao Ken said, "I'm actually from the 5-clawed divine dragon. I don't know if you've heard of the 10 major dragon clans, but the 5-clawed divine dragon is the noblest among them." 5-clawed divine dragon. Ning Cheng had indeed heard of this race before. He had an innate dragon pearl on him, which he found in the Grand Essence Sea's dragon washing pool. "Sit down and talk, I'm listening." Hearing the words 5-clawed divine dragon, Ning Cheng immediately became interested. Ao Ken walked to the side and sat down. He took off the mask on his face, revealing a chiseled and resolute face. The 5-clawed divine dragon is the #1 dragon clan. They have branches in all the major planes. I'm a direct descendant of the 5-clawed divine dragon clan. Unfortunately, I'm a cripple of the dragon clan. I was born with only 4 claws. Ning Cheng could see the loss and humiliation in Ao Ken's eyes. From the looks of it, he had suffered a lot of grievances in the 5-clawed divine dragon clan. "Because I'm not 5 claws, I was named Ao Ken, and I was humiliated. Finally, because of a conflict over cultivation resources, I was expelled from the dragon clan. My mother worried that I would be plotted against by my fellow clansmen, so she secretly left the dragon clan to take care of me." Ao Ken's words were simple, but Ning Cheng could hear the bitterness in them. From the looks of it, there wasn't much difference between the dragon clan and the human clan. "So you want to snatch the innate dragon pearl and then build a new territory for yourself?" Ning Cheng asked. The reason why Ning Cheng asked this was because he knew that if the innate dragon pearl that Ao Ken snatched could be used to build a place similar to the dragon washing pool, he could indeed build a new territory. Ao Ken clenched his fists, and a trace of hatred flashed in his eyes. "I'm not trying to snatch the innate dragon pearl. It's because this dragon pearl was originally mine. It belonged to my mother, and she planned to give it to me in the future. However, someone accidentally learned about it. As a result, my mother was killed to save me, and the innate dragon pearl was snatched away. Later, I wandered the void, and my cultivation gradually improved. In the mysterious yellow heavens beyond, I found the dragon pearl that was snatched away, the one from the myriad world auction. When Ning Cheng heard this, he felt sympathy for Ao Kan. This guy was really pitiful. If he had encountered such a thing, he might have snatched it more thoroughly or even not bid at all. Naturally, he couldn't let others take away his mother's things. Before my mother died, I promised her that I would kill the enemy and find the innate dragon pearl to see her. At this point, Ao Kan took out a jade box and placed it in front of Ning Cheng. This is the innate dragon pearl. I only ask that you save me and let me place this innate dragon pearl in front of my mother's grave for 3 days. I'll give this innate dragon pearl to you directly. Ao Kan's tone was sincere. After saying this, he raised a hand. I, Ao Kan, swear. Ning Cheng waved his hand to stop Ao Kan from swearing. Forget it. I'm not interested in your innate dragon pearl. I don't want your dragon pearl, so you can keep it yourself. I have a quintessential world. If you enter my quintessential world, I'll take you out of the mysterious yellow heavens beyond. Ah. Ao Kan hadn't expected such a good thing to happen. Did he want him to go to his quintessential world and then destroy it? If not, how could such a person exist in this world where the strong preyed on the weak? However, Ao Kan quickly put this thought aside. He had already placed the innate dragon pearl in front of Ning Cheng. If Ning Cheng wanted it, he could get it with a raise of his hand. There was no need to do this. Thank you, big brother. As long as I worship my mother, Ao Kan's life will belong to you in the future. Ao Kan fell to his knees. His resentment was not that he didn't have 5 claws, but that his mother had died because of him. If he couldn't find his mother's innate dragon pearl, he would live in guilt for the rest of his life. He didn't think that Ning Cheng's cultivation level was lower than his. How could a person with a lower cultivation level kill several primordial chaos experts and then walk away calmly under the siege of dozens of primordial chaos experts? Ning Cheng took out a few healing elixirs and gave them to Ao Kan. He patted Ao Kan on the shoulder and said, "My name is Ning Cheng. This is just a piece of cake for me. Don't worry about it. I'm younger than you, so just call me Ning Cheng." Ao Kan put the elixir pills into his mouth without hesitation and said sternly again, "I'm your big brother and I'll always be your big brother. Although I'm a broken 5-clawed divine dragon, I never break my promise. It's just that there are many experts in heavens beyond. I'm afraid that the quintessential world." Ning Cheng chuckled. "Don't worry. If I can't even take you out, I wouldn't have to look for the live soil here." When he went out, he would send the quintessential world into the mysterious yellow bead. Even if a creation realm expert came, he wouldn't be able to tell that he had taken Ao Kan away. What's more, given his current strength, even if he didn't send the quintessential world into the mysterious yellow bead, no one would be able to sense Ao Kan in his quintessential world. This elixir pill. Ao Kan suddenly exclaimed in shock, "Is this a healing Dao pill?" Ao Kan knew the value of this healing Dao pill all too well. Ning Cheng had actually given him this Dao pill to heal him. He really regarded him as a friend. Ning Cheng hadn't thought of it that way. This was just some healing Dao pill that he had refined himself. It was just that Ao Kan was a sentimental person with a good disposition. In heavens beyond, the biggest incident recently was that someone had snatched the Khanate Dragon Pearl from the Myriad Realm auction. Not only had the Khanate Dragon Pearl been taken away, but the Myriad Realm Auctions building had also been destroyed. Now that the Myriad Realm Auctions building had been rebuilt, the person who had snatched the Khanate Dragon Pearl had yet to be caught. In the Myriad Realm Auctions new building's meeting hall, Shi Lin and several experts looked gloomy. The person who stole the innate dragon ball that they had locked onto all along had suddenly disappeared. Previously, the Myriad Realm auction had been confident about catching the person who had snatched the Khanate dragon pearl. However, they were a little worried now. The Myriad Realm auction was powerful in heavens beyond, but they couldn't cover the sky with one hand. There were many restrictions in heavens beyond. If the person who snatched the Khanate dragon pearl was captured by other forces or hid in someone else's territory, where could the Myriad Realm auction find him? The reputation of the Myriad Realm auction has fallen a lot recently. I think we should hold an exhibition of our store's treasures to gather some popularity. Knew who was the one who spoke. He knew very well that although the Myriad Realm auction had lost the breathing soil and the Khanate dragon pearl, they had obtained the similarly supreme-grade treasures, the quintessential essence of the universe and the 5-element chaos chi. The 5-element chaos chi was slightly weaker, but it had all 5 elements. Shi Lin nodded. This was the only way now. He couldn't watch the Myriad Realm auction's reputation continue to fall. If this went on, other forces might take the opportunity to launch an auction and suppress the Myriad Realm auction. Just as Shi Lin was about to speak, he suddenly felt that something was amiss. He immediately rushed out of the meeting hall and floated in the void. When Shi Lin came out, he realized that several experts were already standing in the sky above heavens beyond. Dao Rune whirlpools were swept over in the sky above the extraterritorial space inn. The law aura of these whirlpools was getting stronger. A terrifying oppressive Dao Rune aura came crashing down, and almost the entire heavens beyond was under this terrifying oppressive aura. Someone succeeded in Dao integration. How is this possible? Nu Hu landed beside Shi Lin and said in astonishment. He felt that it was impossible because heavens beyond was not suitable for Dao integration at all. Even Dao validation and primordial chaos were not suitable here, let alone Dao integration. Shi Lin said in a deep voice, "It's not impossible, but it's an ironclad fact." Not only did this person succeed in Dao integration, but his Dao runes are also powerful and his law is condensed. In terms of strength, I'm afraid he's not weaker than a mid-stage Dao integration expert. He might even be comparable to a late-stage Dao integration expert. Could it be Ning Qing? Nu Hu asked doubtfully again. Shi Lin shook his head. That's impossible. Let's not talk about whether Ning Qing really has a primordial chaos cultivation level. His strength is definitely not weaker than ours. Furthermore, this Dao integration Dao rune aura is not comparable to Ning Qing's. No matter who it is, we should pay a visit to Daoist Ning's residence. Chapter 1229. Not bad. Old geezer, you've recovered to the Dao integration stage. Ning Qing let Ao can enter the true spirit world. After coming out, the first thing he saw was the old fogey proudly walking out of the seclusion room. Seeing the old fogey's strength, Ning Qing couldn't help but praise him. The old man's Dao runes were dense and much stronger than Mao Tai from the Mao family. As expected, none of these old things were simple. No matter how proud the old man felt, he didn't dare to be rude to Ning Qing. He quickly thanked him. If it weren't for Senior's power, this junior wouldn't have recovered to Dao unification so quickly. Brother Ning, big brother Ning. Mu Yueping also came out in time. The sadness on Mu Yueping's face had long disappeared. Even though his eyes were slightly red, his spirit was no longer the same as before. After chatting with Mu Yueping, Jiang Man naturally came to know how much effort Ning Qing had put in to save him. More importantly, he understood that Ning Qing had given him the complete karma cultivation method. Ning Qing understood Jiang Man's gratitude and smiled. Dao friend Shi of the Myriad Circle's Commerce Chamber of Commerce is here. As for the cultivation method, you can figure it out yourself. After saying that, Ning Qing directly opened the room's restriction. Jiang Man and Mu Yueping also knew that this wasn't the place to talk, so they didn't continue to talk. The restriction covering Ning Qing's room had just opened when Shi Lin and Nu Hu walked over. Shi Lin, who was still far away, laughed and cupped his fists before speaking. "Dao friend Ning, I've come to disturb you again. This time, I'm here to congratulate you on your successful Dao integration. It's obvious how powerful your Dao marks are to be able to succeed in heavens beyond." Shi Lin had visited Ning Cheng a few times before. Although Ning Cheng knew about this old fogey, he did not take it to heart. Now that he had seen the old Qi being successfully fused with his Dao runes, he regretted that he had misjudged him. Even though Shi Lin was a Dao integration stage holy emperor, the old fart really didn't take him seriously. Ning Cheng quickly spoke up, "This is Dao friend Jiang Zhong. He used to have a nickname called Ping Ding Heavenly Emperor. So, senior is Great Emperor Ping Ding." Shi Lin was instantly moved. He had heard of Ping Ding before. Although he wasn't a super strong expert, he was still someone who had left his name behind. Although he was also at the Dao integration realm, it was only right for him to address Ping Ding as senior. The old man chuckled. "I'm getting old. It was only by following behind Senior Ning that I slowly restored a bit of my cultivation." Although he said that, the old fart was inwardly very pleased with himself. Senior Ning. Shi Lin felt even more shocked about Ning Cheng's origins. Just how terrifying was the person whom Emperor Ping Ding addressed as senior. No wonder Ning Cheng could easily deal with Dao integration experts with his primordial chaos strength. So he was also the reincarnation of a senior. Fortunately, he did not offend this senior. Ning Cheng found it funny. He knew that he was not a senior, so he could only say, "Recently, there have been many troubles in the heavens beyond. I'll be leaving the heavens beyond. The next time I come here, I'll go to the Myriad Realm auction to visit Daoist Shi. Fellow Daoist Shi, you don't have to feel burdened. We'll still call each other fellow Daoist." Not to mention that Shi Lin already regarded Ning Cheng as a senior, even if he didn't know that Ning Cheng was a senior. If Ning Cheng wanted to leave, he couldn't stop him. Therefore, he quickly spoke up, Okay, I'll listen to Dao friend Ning. The Myriad Realms auction has just been rebuilt and is preparing to hold a treasure exhibition. If fellow Daoist Ning is not in a hurry, you can take a look at my Myriad Worlds auction." Ning Cheng thanked him and spoke, "I indeed have an urgent matter to take care of. Dao friend Shi can rest assured that the next time I come, I will definitely stay here for a long time." Since Ning Cheng said this, Shi Lin couldn't keep him. He personally escorted Ning Cheng out of the heavens beyond before returning. In the void far away from the heavens beyond, Ning Cheng called out, "Ao Can, this place is already far away from the heavens beyond. You can go. I have to go back too." Ao Can bowed to Ning Cheng. "I was afraid of an accident before, so I didn't dare to take my mother's body with me. Now, I'm going to pay my respects to my mother and bring her body back. Where is the senior? After I pay my respects, I'll go find the senior." Ning Cheng hesitated a little before saying, "I live in the Grand Essence realm of the 5 Great Realms. The largest place in the Grand Essence realm is the Grand Essence Sea. In the future, if you want, you can stay in the Grand Essence Sea." He felt that Ao Can wasn't a cunning person, so he didn't hide it. An expert like Ao Can settling down in the Grand Essence realm would only bring benefits to the Grand Essence realm. Yes, Ao Can will bid farewell to Big Brother first. After saying that, Ao Can's body turned into a wave of water ripples and disappeared instantly. This person is very strong. The old fogey felt Ao Can's strength and suspected that Ao Can was the person who robbed the auction. "Let's go to the void city of the 5 realms as fast as we can. Old fogey, you control the starry sky wheel. I have to go into seclusion to study something." Ning Cheng directly handed over the control of the starry sky wheel to the old fogey. In less than 3 years, the starry sky wheel stopped outside the void city of the 5 realms. The old fogey had already recovered to the Dao integration realm. Therefore, even if the starry sky wheel had no artifact spirit, he could still control it extremely quickly. If it weren't for the delay in changing the teleportation arrays in the Void City, the old fogey estimated that it wouldn't have taken him 3 years. After controlling the Starry Sky Wheel for 3 years, the old fogey started to covet the Starry Sky Wheel. He had seen countless flight-type weapons, but none of them could compare to the Starry Sky Wheel. Senior has arrived. As soon as they arrived outside the Void City of the 5 Realms, the old fogey respectfully called out to Ning Cheng. He was bored out of his mind. Jiang Man and Mu Yueping had low cultivation levels and were cultivating on the Starry Sky Wheel. Moreover, he didn't like to chat with the two of them. The old fogey liked chasing bull the most and liked to chat with it. However, this fellow had been taught a lesson by Senior and knew that it was weak. Therefore, it had entered Ning Cheng's quintessential world to cultivate. Now that he arrived at the Void City of the 5 Realms, he quickly went to call Ning Cheng. So fast. Ning Cheng walked out of seclusion and marveled at the old fogey's speed. Over the past few years, he had been studying the array Dao intermittently. Initially, he felt that his array Dao was good enough. However, after Ao Kan's talisman broke it, Ning Cheng felt that his array Dao level was still far behind. He had already comprehended the array Dao insights that Nianyan had given him and had even deduced many of his own array Dao concepts. As for the karma spiritual technique, Ning Cheng only glanced at it briefly before putting it aside. He had some interest in the 12 words mantra spiritual technique, but he wasn't interested in the other branches of the karma spiritual technique. When I recover to the perfected Dao integration realm, it might not even take a year to get here from heavens beyond of heaven and earth. The old fogey started to brag. He made up his mind and followed behind Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng was a big backer. Not only did he have many good things, but he also didn't like to snatch other people's treasures. The reason why he said those words was that he wanted Ning Cheng to see his value. Not bad. Ning Cheng patted the old fogey's shoulder. Let's go to the teleportation array and get ready to go to the Great Change Realm. Something's not right here. As soon as Ning Cheng entered the Void City of the 5 Realms, he felt that something was different. He had been to the Void City of the 5 Realms twice. Each time he came, it was bustling with all kinds of cultivators. However, the streets of the Void City of the 5 Realms seemed a little deserted this time. Ning Cheng quickened his pace and arrived at the teleportation array. He had made up his mind that if the person controlling the teleportation array didn't allow him to enter the Great Change Realm, he would use force. What surprised Ning Cheng even more was that the outside of the Void City of the 5 Realms was deserted, but the hall where the teleportation array was located was overcrowded. There were people coming and going, and people were being teleported away. Everyone was in a hurry. Another thing that puzzled Ning Cheng was that the teleportation array leading to the Great Change Realm was always full. It seemed like there was no restriction on the number of teleportation slots or the number of times. What was going on? Ning Cheng raised his hand and grabbed a Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor beside him. Dao friend, may I ask why there are no restrictions on going to the Great Change Realm and why there are so many people coming and going? The Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor felt that Ning Cheng was far stronger than him and quickly replied respectfully, the demonic creatures in the Great Change Realm's underground abyss erupted and all the seals and restrictions were broken. The Great Change Realm simply opened the teleportation array. Each teleportation only costs 500,000 God crystals. Anyone can teleport to the Great Change Realm to kill demonic creatures. Jiang Man asked in confusion, are these people so good that they still want to pay God crystals to kill demonic creatures in the Great Change Realm? Ning Cheng let go of the Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor and explained, the Great Change Realm has complete laws. Even if there are no benefits, paying 500,000 God crystals to cultivate is the dream of any Starry Sky cultivator. What's more, they have other benefits. After killing demonic creatures, they can obtain demonic crystals with pure spirit essence. This thing is better than spirit essence pills for cultivation. Yes, let's go and have a look together. The old man smiled. He naturally knew about demonic creatures. Although demonic crystals didn't have much use for him, he could use a large number of demonic crystals to exchange for starry sky treasures. Ning Qing said to Jiang Man and Mu Yueping, "The old man and I will go to the Great Change Realm. You guys teleport back from here. Tell Li Fengting and the others that I'm fine and will be back in a while." "Okay." Jiang Man and Mu Yueping immediately responded. After sending Jiang Man and Mu Yueping away, Ning Cheng and the old man paid 1,000,000 god crystals and easily teleported from the Five Realms Void City to the Great Change Realm. The teleportation array from the Five Realms Void City to the Great Change Realm was built in the Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City. The Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City was actually just a place to stay. People who teleported here would leave quickly. Few people would stay in the Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City for long. The last time Ning Cheng came here, there were very few people here. But this time, when Ning Cheng came to the Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City, he realized what had changed. How could the Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City be sparsely populated? It was also overcrowded. All kinds of stalls were set up everywhere. Most of the stalls had various kinds of demonic crystals or underground ores on them. As soon as Ning Cheng and the old man arrived, they heard the hustle and bustle in their ears. The place with the most people in the Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City was also the teleportation array. The teleportation array clearly stated that it would cost 10,000 god crystals to teleport to the periphery of the underground abyss. Chapter 1230. The entrance to the underground abyss was in the Scorched Tree Temple, which Ning Cheng had come to before. At that time, he could still see the withered tree stretching for tens of thousands of miles and the endless withered roots under the withered tree. The aura of death and decay could be felt from afar. This was the second time Ning Cheng came here, and it was filled with grayish demonic qi. The violent aura filled the entire world. As for the Scorched Tree Temple that stretched for tens of thousands of miles, it had long since disappeared. Most likely, the scorched tree had long since disappeared into the depths of the demonic qi. Outside the grayish demonic qi, there were some temporary isolation array formations. Many human cultivators and some demonic creatures fought at the edge of these array formations, and humans and demonic creatures died every moment. White bones littered the ground. From this, one could imagine how many people had fallen here. Ning Cheng secretly felt ashamed. The demonic creature's early outbreak should have something to do with him. He didn't know if it was because he broke the seal or because he absorbed the spirit essence suppressing the underground demonic creatures. The old man standing next to Ning Cheng didn't have such thoughts. He licked his lips, so many demonic creatures. It looks like I'm going to make a fortune. At this moment, a shrill sound of war drums rang out. Following that, countless Tao Court's cultivator army, rogue cultivators, sect disciples, and demonic creatures clashed together. Screams and sounds of weapons bombarding rang out. The demonic creatures continued to devour the essence spirits of human cultivators, and the demonic creatures' demonic crystals were also taken away by human cultivators. Ning Cheng looked at the countless cultivators falling silently without a word. According to reason, the Grand Change Realm had invaded the Grand Essence Realm twice, and the Grand Change Realm suffered some damage. But now, he couldn't feel happy at all. "Senior, should we also go and make some money?" In the eyes of the old man, there were countless high-grade demonic crystals here. For him, it was the same as making a fortune. As for the cultivators who fell, it was because they weren't strong enough. If they wanted to go further and obtain more cultivation resources, they would have to go all out. Back then, he had also experienced the same thing. The Great Tao was ruthless, and this was just a manifestation of it. Ning Cheng was just about to nod when suddenly a crisp gong sound rang out. The human cultivators retreated, and the demonic creatures also seemed to have a tacit understanding and retreated. Only some scattered human cultivators and the lone demonic creatures were still fighting. Ning Cheng's heart sank. When the demonic creatures from the underground abyss erupted, he had also fought against them. It was a battle without reason or order. Regarding this kind of battle, Ningqing simply did not care about it. No matter how powerful the demonic creatures were, they were basically unorganized and could not do anything to the human cultivators. However, this was not the case. These monsters were clearly organized and orderly. They were attacking and retreating with a leader. No, let's go to the command hall. I want to see my old friend Yin Xingwen. By the way, there are also those Dao Court's Dao Lords. Ning Cheng looked at the towering buildings in the distance and smiled. Whether it was the beating of the drums or the ringing of the gongs, they all came from this hall. It seemed that this towering hall was temporarily built by the Great Change Realm to deal with the devils. Tens of thousands of miles around the main building were all kinds of cave dwellings. Some simple market squares and street stalls were set up everywhere, and there was an endless stream of people coming and going. It was true that many cultivators would die here every day. However, even more demonic crystals would appear every day. Because of these demonic crystals, people were advancing at every moment. Ning Cheng and the old fogey walked in without anyone stopping them. In other words, anyone could come in and then go out. Bang! A slight spatial fluctuation emerged from a temporary immortal cave next to him, causing Ning Cheng to subconsciously stop in his tracks. Although his spiritual consciousness did not penetrate the temporary cave dwelling, he could feel that someone was fighting with this spatial fluctuation. Wasn't this a place where the Great Change Realm human cultivators gathered? How could someone fight in a cave dwelling? Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness immediately swept in. The cave dwelling's simple isolation restrictions were like paper to Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness. This cave dwelling turned out to be a huge hall. But to Ning Cheng's surprise, 4 men sat in the middle of the hall. Apart from them, 7 or 8 women stood in the middle of the hall. Without exception, these women all wore very little and had their cultivation sealed. A man with only Dao Birth Realm cultivation stood in front of a tall woman with an angry expression on his face. The tall woman's mouth was overflowing with blood. Ning Cheng could tell at a glance that this tall woman had forcibly broken free from the shackles. Brother Zipping, find another one to sleep with. This one doesn't know what's good for him. It's better to send him to a sealed demonic creature, a man sitting in the middle said. The Dao Birth Divine Emperor, who was addressed as Brother Zipping, grinned, I want to sleep with this chili pepper. She doesn't know what's good for her. Hee, I like women who don't know what's good for them the most. The Dao Birth Divine Emperor's voice stopped abruptly, and he found himself lifted up by the neck. Let him go. The 4 men sitting above stood up at the same time and shouted in shock. Ning Cheng raised his hand and threw the Dao Birth Divine Emperor out. Without waiting for the 4 men to breathe a sigh of relief, Ning Cheng continued, Old fogey, throw these grasshoppers aside. I'll ask them. The old fogey raised his hand and the 5 men fell to his feet. They couldn't even resist. All of this happened quickly. It wasn't until Ning Cheng sat at the top of the hall that the people in the hall reacted. Feeling the pressure of death, the man called Brother Zipping's eyes flashed with fear. He called out in a trembling voice, My name is Su Zipping. I'm from the Su clan. Oh, I've never heard of it. Who's the Su clan? Ning Cheng patted the corner of the chair beside him and asked. The tall woman, who had blood dripping from the corner of her mouth because of her resistance, said in a hoarse voice, It's Su Xinghe's family. Su Xinghe is one of the 3 Grand Array Dao Grandmasters of Tai Continent. I heard that he has already reached Dao integration and is even a mid-stage Dao integration expert. Oh. Ning Cheng looked at the tall woman in surprise and said, Aren't you afraid that I'll be afraid and run away immediately without saving you? The tall woman smiled bitterly. I don't want to live anymore. I just hope that senior can give me a quick death when you leave. Ning Cheng nodded and threw a medicinal pill into the tall woman's mouth. At the same time, he shot out a few Dao runes. The 7 women who had been imprisoned around him all released their shackles in an instant. The women were pleasantly surprised and quickly came forward to thank Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng waved his hand and asked the tall woman, "Tell me, why did you capture you and bring you here? Is it to set up the pure body suppression seal again?" The tall woman bowed. Ning Cheng's medicinal pill and the fact that he could easily release the shackles of the others without moving his body told her that Ning Cheng was an absolute powerhouse. The old fogey had taken away several Dao birth and Dao sculpting experts out of thin air, which was even more terrifying. Replying to Senior, "That's right. The underground demonic creatures are getting more and more powerful. Although the Great Change Realm doesn't seem to be at a disadvantage, many people know that if this continues, the Great Change Realm will be completely occupied by demonic creatures sooner or later. Therefore, the Great Change Realm's Dao courts and sects, as well as the Great Change Realm's Realm Lord Yin Xingwen, want to use the same method to seal the underground demonic creatures." When the tall woman said this, Ning Cheng's expression turned a little solemn. It wasn't a trivial matter for a realm to be occupied by demonic creatures. Even if he had a grudge against the Great Change Realm's Yin Xingwen, he couldn't just sit back and watch this happen, not to mention that this matter was directly related to him. "What's your name?" Ning Cheng asked. This tall woman was only at the Dao sculpting realm, but she had a lot of insight and spoke clearly. In a few simple words, she explained the general situation. Not only that, but she also deduced that the Great Change Realm couldn't stop the impact of these demonic creatures. The tall woman bowed and said, "Junior's name is Xiao Xiaolan, a rogue cultivator." Ning Cheng nodded and continued to ask. "As far as I know, now that the demonic creatures have completely erupted, I'm afraid it's not realistic to use women as pure bodies to suppress the seal." Xiao Xiaolan clenched her fists, and a trace of sadness flashed across her face as she said, "Because Su Xinghe is a Pika-Ray Dao Grandmaster, he proposed to use 18,000 girls to refine pure bodies to suppress the sealing pillars, to suppress the underground demonic beings." Ning Cheng also felt shocked when he heard these words. How many dog heads did it take to come up with such a rotten idea? Not to mention that 18,000 girls couldn't suppress the underground demonic creatures. Even if they could suppress them, how many days could they last? "How do you know about this?" Ning Cheng suddenly felt suspicious. If there really was such a thing, it wouldn't have been leaked. If it was leaked, then it would have been strange if so many cultivators came here to kill demonic creatures. Because he just told me that we're just a small group. Once the inspection is over, we'll be imprisoned in a place and wait to refine the sealing pillars. Xiao Xiaolan pointed to Su Zipping, who had been stepped on by the old man, and spoke through gritted teeth. Ning Cheng understood that Su Zipping wanted to use this information to threaten Xiao Xiaolan. He looked at Su Zipping coldly. Su Zipping saw Ning Cheng looking at him and quickly said, "This has nothing to do with me. You can't touch me, Ning Cheng waved his hand and said to the old man, "Kill them all." The old man smiled, and the Dao runes under his feet spread out. Including Su Zipping, the 5 men directly turned into nothingness under his feet. The eyes of Xiao Xiaolan and the others twitched. This kind of strength that could turn a Dao nourishment holy emperor into nothingness. Most likely, this person was at the perfected primordial chaos realm, right? Ning Cheng stood up and said to Xiao Xiaolan and the other women, "I'm going to find Yin Xingwen, but you have to swear not to tell anyone about this. Otherwise, I will kill you." Once such a thing spread, the Great Change Realm's alliance against the demonic creatures would immediately collapse. Xiao Xiaolan understood Ning Cheng's meaning and quickly said, "Senior, please put it down. This junior will stay by Senior's side and will never tell anyone about it." The rest of the women hurriedly swore that they would not speak of this matter. Ning Cheng was just about to ask Xiao Xiaolan what she was doing by his side when he suddenly remembered something. His expression immediately changed. "Old man, come with me to find Yin Xingwen." Chapter 1231. Stop, this is the command hall. Two Dao transformation divine emperors stopped Ning Cheng and the old man at the entrance of the hall's defensive formation. Scram! The old man had already felt Ning Cheng's displeasure. Now that someone stopped them, he raised his hand and slapped them twice. The two Dao transformation divine emperors were sent flying by him, and the defensive formation of the command hall also cracked. Which Dao friend is it? Now is the time of the Grand Change Realm's crisis. How dare you attack my Grand Change Command Hall's defensive formation? A deep voice rang in Ning Cheng and the old man's ears the moment Ning Cheng stepped into the formation. The old man chuckled, "It's your grandpa Ping Ding." As they spoke, Ning Cheng and the old man landed in the spacious and luxurious hall. The restrictions along the way were easily torn apart by the two of them. Even if it was a temporary hall for the Grand Change Realm cultivators and the demonic creatures of the underground abyss, the luxury of this hall still surprised Ning Cheng. The hall was full of people, and Yin Xingwen sat at the head of the table. The people sitting on both sides of Yin Xingwen were all powerhouses. In this place, Ning Cheng could see the strength of the Grand Change Realm. There were at least 10 Dao integration powerhouses here. The Grand Essence Realm's strength was nothing compared to this place. Sitting next to Yin Xingwen was Feng Xian. Ning Cheng didn't expect this guy to still be here. In addition, Ning Cheng also knew Ao Beijiang, Mu Zuoxiao, Lei Shiran, Yi Qianhua, Wei Xinghao, and others. "Ning Cheng, it's you?" Ao Beijiang was the first to stand up with a hint of surprise in his eyes. He didn't expect Ning Cheng to come to him today. He was courting death. "So it's Dao Lord Ning from the Grand Essence Dao Court." A woman stood up and cupped her fists towards Ning Cheng. "I'm Dao Lord Bai Ling from the Yaohua Dao Court. This is our Yaohua Dao Court's guardian, Gu Ruoxi." Gu Ruoxi was a middle-aged woman sitting next to her. She looked ordinary, but her Dao runes were completely integrated with the surrounding heaven and earth laws. Clearly, she was extremely powerful. When the Grand Change Dao Court's army besieged Grand Essence under Yin Xingwen's leadership, the Yaohua Dao Court was the only one who didn't send out their army. Now that Ning Cheng came in, Yaohua Dao Court's Dao monarch Bai Ling took the initiative to greet him. Ning Cheng quickly stepped forward and cupped his fists. "So it's Dao monarch Bai Ling." Ning Cheng greets Dao monarch and Dao friend Gu Ruoxi. Ning Cheng will always remember the righteousness of the Yaohua Dao Court. The Yaohua Dao Court was in the Great Change Realm, but they didn't send the Dao Court's army to attack Taisu. Although the Taisu Dao Court's army had defeated the Tai Dao Court's army, it was definitely due to Qing Lan's timely participation. What would have happened if Gu Ruoxi had joined the Tai Dao Court army instead of Qing Lan? Therefore, when Ning Cheng spoke about righteousness, it was not just nonsense. Although Gu Ruoxi looked ordinary, she had a slender figure and a solid Dao rune. Her cultivation level was definitely not lower than the late-stage Dao integration realm. Gu Ruoxi smiled and nodded at Ning Cheng. "Dao Lord Ning is an amazing talent. Your future achievements will definitely surpass ours. Perhaps we'll have to rely on Dao Lord Ning for many things in the future." The old fart standing next to Ning Cheng sneered in his heart. "What do you mean by far surpassing you in the future? Not to mention Ning Cheng, even I, Ping Ding, will beat you." After Gu Ruoxi finished speaking, she stood up and cupped her fists at the old fart. "Is this Senior Jiang Zhong, the great Emperor Ping Ding from back then?" When the old fart heard that someone still remembered him, he suddenly laughed. "I didn't expect that someone would still remember me, Jiang Zhong. I, Ping Ding, am optimistic about you." Initially, everyone was a little puzzled as to why Gu Ruoxi stood up and cupped her fists in front of the old fart. But after hearing the name Great Emperor Ping Ding, they completely understood. At this time, all the sacred emperors who knew the old fart stood up and greeted him with cupped fists. Instead, Ning Cheng was ignored. Ao Beijiang, who was about to attack Ning Cheng, had his expression change a few times. However, he held back and greeted the old fart. Yin Xingwen acted as if he didn't know about the previous gap and said to Ning Cheng with a smile, "Tao Lord Ning and Great Emperor Ping Ding, please take a seat." As he spoke, 2 more seats were added to the front seats. At this time, everyone understood why Ning Cheng dared to come here alone. It turned out that he relied on the protection of Great Emperor Ping Ding. Just when everyone thought that Ning Cheng would follow behind Ping Ding Heavenly Emperor and take a seat, a shocking scene took place. Great Emperor Ping Ding didn't sit down but spoke to Ning Cheng respectfully, "Senior, please take a seat first." "Senior? Please take a seat first." What was going on? In an instant, everyone's eyes focused on Ning Cheng. Senior of Great Emperor Ping Ding, what was the origin of this Ning Cheng? Ning Cheng didn't sit down but looked at Yin Xingwen and asked, "Realm Master Xingwen, I don't think this is the first time we've met." Yin Xingwen showed a slight smile. Tao Lord Ning is right. Although there were some misunderstandings before, Tao Lord Ning took the initiative to help before the demonic beast disaster. I've long forgotten about those small misunderstandings. Yin Xingwen naturally knew that although there were more than a dozen Tao Unification Sacred Emperors here, only a few could help him if he really wanted to attack Ning Cheng. Moreover, Great Emperor Ping Ding wasn't a simple person. A simple person would have died a long time ago. Even if they could kill Ning Cheng here, they wouldn't be able to kill Ping Ding. What's more, with Ping Ding here, how could he kill Ning Cheng? He might as well say that Ning Cheng had come to help. Seeing Yin Xingwen putting righteousness in front of him, Ning Cheng still spoke indifferently. "When I came, I saw a man named Su Ziping capture a few female cultivators. I heard that he wanted to set up some ceiling restriction array." As Ning Cheng spoke till here, he felt an ice-cold gaze sweeping towards him. Ning Cheng stared at it without hesitation. It was a thin man in black robes with a strong Tao rune. At first glance, he could tell that he was a middle-stage Tao unification expert. Ning Cheng guessed that this person should be Su Xinghe, who advocated the pure body seal. "I, Su Xinghe, proposed it." "What? Do you have a problem with it?" The thin man in black suddenly stood up and spoke in a cold tone. "I have a problem with it, so I killed that ant named Su Ziping," Ning Cheng replied in a cold tone. "You're courting death." When the thin man in black heard that Su Ziping had been killed, his killing intent immediately spread out. To him, Su Ziping was an insignificant person. However, Ning Cheng had said in front of so many people that he had killed Su Ziping from the Su family. If he did not kill Ning Cheng, where would he put his face as a Tao unification expert? A powerful killing intent Tao rune blasted towards Ning Cheng. As if they had agreed beforehand, none of the holy emperors in the hall moved, letting the powerful killing intent Tao rune press down on Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng did not move, but the old man beside him moved. "Little thing, your grandpa Ping Ding killed that ant." While speaking, Great Emperor Ping Ding's figure flashed, and the same killing intent Tao rune swept towards Su Xinghe. Su Xinghe was at the middle stage Tao unification, a little higher than the old man. However, given Ping Ding's strength, even a late-stage Tao unification expert might not be his opponent, let alone Su Xinghe, who focused on the array Tao. The two nomological forces rolled together, and a violent killing intent Tao rune swept out. Fortunately, everyone in the hall was an expert. Therefore, the killing intent Tao rune could not spread out at all and was blocked by the experts in the hall. Neither of them used their Dharma treasures, and the old man's killing intent directly suppressed Su Xinghe. Just by exchanging blows, Su Xinghe knew that he was not the old man's opponent. Not only was he not the old man's opponent, but he was also far from it. At that moment, the two's Tao runes and killing intents were entangled. If he wanted to escape as soon as possible, he would have to use his Dharma treasure. Su Xinghe's hand grabbed at the void, and a modeled 8 trigrams disc appeared in the void. While Su Xinghe's 8 trigrams disc appeared, Great Emperor Ping Ding also brought out his heaven and earth cauldron. How dare he say that Senior Ning was courting death? Therefore, this kid had to die. Su Xinghe's face turned cold. His strongest strength was not in battle, but in the array Dao. After he escaped, he would not be one of the 3 great array Dao masters of the Tai sect if he did not use the array formation to trap the 2 of them. The 8 trigrams disc had just flickered when Su Xinghe felt a terrifying spiritual consciousness storm blasting into his sea of consciousness. Then, a powerful explosive nomological power started raging in his sea of consciousness. Boom! Su Xinghe's entire body trembled. The next moment, he lost contact with his 8 trigrams disc. Someone had sneak attacked his sea of consciousness from the side. Su Xinghe's entire body turned cold. He did not expect that someone could silently blast into his sea of consciousness. When Su Xinghe saw Ningqing sneering at him from afar, he instantly understood. This was the early-stage primordial chaos sacred emperor. Yet, this early-stage primordial chaos sacred emperor could seize the opportunity to blast into his sea of consciousness the moment he brought out his Dharma treasure. This was simply too terrifying. Su Xinghe frantically tried to restore his spiritual consciousness and regain the right to escape, but the old man did not give him the chance. If the old man could not seize this opportunity, he would not be able to earn the title of Great Emperor Pingding. The heaven and earth cauldron turned into a huge mountain and directly blasted against Su Xinghe's body. No matter how strong Su Xinghe's physical body was, he could not resist the heaven and earth cauldron. When the heaven and earth cauldron fell, Su Xinghe was blasted into pieces. Su Xinghe's principal spirit had just emerged when it was completely strangled by the heaven and earth cauldron's shadow. It was not until the old man put away the heaven and earth cauldron and stood casually beside Ningqing that everyone in the hall completely understood what had happened. They had planned to let Su Xinghe test Ningqing's strength. They had not expected that Ningqing would not even move, and Su Xinghe would be blasted to death. Only a few top-notch experts could see that Ningqing had sneak-attacked Su Xinghe with his spiritual consciousness. Xiao Xiaolan, who had followed Ningqing in, was completely stunned. Ningqing was a Dao lord of a realm. She could not figure it out. Now, even a Dao integration expert like Su Xinghe had been turned into nothingness in just a few moves. Dao Lord Ning, Daoist Su is the top array Dao master in the Great Change realm. Daoist Su contributed a lot to the demonic invasion this time. Daoist Ning killed Daoist Su the moment he arrived. I'm afraid this is not justifiable. Yin Xingwen had wanted to see the strength of Ningqing or the old man. He had not expected that Su Xinghe would be killed before he even had a chance to rescue them. Chapter 1232. However, Ningqing didn't give Yin Xingwen any face and spoke up in a cold voice. Yin Xingwen, you're the master of the Grand Change realm. Yet, you use tens of thousands of innocent girls in the Grand Change realm as pure bodies to suppress the seal. I don't need to say anything, but I believe that everyone here knows about it. Not only do they need young girls, but they also need to be extremely kind-hearted. Could it be that kindness was used by others? If this goes on, wouldn't the world be filled with evil people? Since Su Xinghe proposed such a vicious sealing method, why wouldn't I kill him? Could it be that this vicious sealing method wasn't proposed by Su Xinghe, but by Starwen Realm Lord? If that's the case, then I can apologize to Su Xinghe and ask for Starwen Realm Lord's opinion. Yin Xingwen was a shrewd person. Despite Ningqing's words, he still asked calmly, so, if such a thing happened in the Grand Essence Realm, Dao Lord Ning would rather let the Grand Essence Realm perish than do such a thing to save a few people. Ningqing laughed, but there was no smile on his face. Instead, his tone carried a hint of disdain. If the people of the entire realm didn't even have the courage to fight to the death and needed the kindest people to nail their souls and primordial spirits to the sealing pillars to save them, then this realm wouldn't even need to exist. What's the difference between living and dying in a realm with no kind souls? In life, there are things that one shouldn't do. Xingwen Realm Lord used countless innocent and kind-hearted young girls to save a world. Didn't he feel any shame in dragging out his life? If such a thing happened in the Grand Essence Realm, then all the cultivators of the realm would fight and die. Good. Yaohua Dao Court's Dao Lord Bai Ling stood up and applauded. Behind Dao Lord Bai Ling, a middle-aged Confucian scholar also stood up and clapped. Dao Lord Ning's words are enlightening. If we hide behind a group of kind-hearted women, then no matter how great our achievements in the future, I'm afraid it will be difficult for us to make any further progress. At this point, the middle-aged Confucian scholar deliberately walked out and bowed to Ning Cheng. Thank you, Dao Lord Ning, for enlightening me with your words. Otherwise, my heart-dispelling water would only be at Dao integration in the future. Only then did Ning Cheng know who the person who had come forward was. He quickly cupped his fists and said, "It turns out to be Dao Lord Jia of the Taishian Dao Court. I just saw human nature. Dao Friend Jia's vision is far better than mine." Ning Cheng cupped his fists in return. What he said was the truth. He did not want to do these things because of his temperament. He did not think that it was related to his great Dao. Jia Xinshui was actually able to tell that once he did something like this, it would affect his Dao in the future. Jia Xinshui said seriously, "Dao Lord Ning's words are wrong. I'm not as good as Dao Lord Ning. I'm still thinking about my own improvement and the great Dao. Dao Lord Ning himself, from the depths of his heart, is unwilling to do this. From this, you can see that Dao Lord Ning's Dao far surpasses mine." Before Ning Cheng could answer again, a sneering voice arrived. "So, if something like this happens in the Grand Essence realm, Dao Lord Ning would rather die than surrender and would eventually die in battle?" Ning Cheng looked at the person who spoke and spoke with an ice-cold tone, "Oh Beijiang, I'll settle your account with you slowly. There's no need to rush. But I can answer your question. If something like this happens in the Grand Essence realm, I, as a Dao Lord of this realm, might not be the last to die. But I will definitely fight to the end. Dao Lord Ning is a man of character. I, Gu Sisi, agree with Dao Lord Ning's words." Another strong man with a short beard stood up. Seeing Ning Cheng look over, the man cupped his fists again and said, "I'm Gu Sisi, the sect master of the vast space Dao sect. Greetings, Dao Lord Ning. I believe everyone understands what Dao Lord Ning means. We can fight against the demonic creatures. Even if we can't defeat them in the end, we can retreat as the last person. As cultivators, there are things that we should do and things that we shouldn't do." Ning Cheng quickly returned the greeting, "So it's Dao Friend Gu. Nice to meet you." Ning Cheng had never heard of Gu Sisi, but he had heard of the vast space Dao sect. It was one of the 3 major Dao sects in the Grand Change realm, second only to the 5 major Dao courts. Seeing more and more people getting involved with Ning Cheng, although Yin Xingwen's expression remained the same, he felt a little awkward in his heart. Ever since he took control of the Luying Dao court, his status as a realm lord had greatly improved. However, he still couldn't control the 3 major Dao sects and the 5 major Dao courts, not to mention the 7 shrines that had always been outside the Grand Change realm. So, Dao Lord Ning means that the cultivators of the Grand Change realm should fight with their lives to suppress the demonic creatures in the Grand Change realm's underground abyss? Of course, I believe that after the demonic creatures occupy the Grand Change realm, Dao Lord Ning will definitely open the Grand Essence realm and allow the cultivators of the Grand Change realm to live there. However, I'm the realm lord of the Grand Change realm. If I can protect the Grand Change realm, I'm willing to fight to the last person, like Dao Lord Ning said. Yin Xingwen spoke in a tone that was neither arrogant nor humble. Everyone could hear the meaning behind his words. That is, Ning Cheng's words didn't hurt his back. Ning Cheng, Dao Lord Grand Essence, didn't care about the life and death of the Grand Change realm. As for using the word live there, it was to tell the powerhouses of the Grand Change realm that the Grand Change realm no longer existed. Even if they survived and lived in the Grand Essence realm, they would still be living under someone else's roof. Ning Cheng naturally understood the meaning behind Yin Xingwen's words. He spoke up in a cold tone, "Realm Lord Xingwen, since I'm here, I'm naturally willing to contribute my strength to the Grand Change realm. I hope that Realm Lord Xingwen doesn't care about others and use some small means to divide everyone's strength. Yin Xingwen's face stiffened, and the anger in his heart started to burn. Ning Cheng, you're a Dao Lord, but this is my Grand Change Realm's territory. I'm also the Grand Change Realm's Realm Lord, yet you speak so bluntly. My words are meant to sow discord, while your words are righteous and dignified. Ning Cheng didn't care about Yin Xingwen's expression at all and continued, countless Dao friends in the Grand Change Realm, as well as countless Dao friends from other places, are fighting against the demonic creatures one after another. Although it's for the demonic crystals, it also has the desire to destroy the demonic creatures and restore peace to the Grand Change Realm. If we use the kind-hearted girls as pure bodies to suppress the demonic creatures, wouldn't it hurt everyone's hearts once everyone learns about it? Therefore, I hope that the first step is to release all the captured girls as pure bodies. I agree with Dao Lord Ning's words. Jie Xinshui was the first to stand up. Then, Yaohua Dao Court's Dao Lord Bai Ling and many other powerhouses expressed their agreement with Ning Cheng's proposal. Yin Xingwen knew that even if everyone disagreed with Ning Cheng's opinion, Ning Cheng had killed Su Xinghe, and they couldn't use their pure bodies to suppress the seal. He also nodded and said, I also agree with this point. I'll let someone handle this matter. Dao friend Ning, you don't have to worry about it. Ning Cheng said in a deep voice, we have to handle this matter ourselves. Once it's done, I'll do my best to help the Grand Change Realm suppress the demonic creatures. Even if I have to mobilize the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army, I won't back down. The reason why Ning Cheng wanted to do it himself was that he worried that Su Xinghe would capture Shi-Er again. The pure body suppression also required the purest and kindest soul as the array heart. Only Shi-Er could meet this condition. Since Su Xinghe proposed to use 18,000 kind-hearted girls as pure bodies to suppress the demonic creatures, then he must have found the girl as the array heart. This was the reason why he felt the most anxious. If it really was Shi-Er, then even if she hadn't been refined into a seal, once the demonic creatures were suppressed, he would go to Yin Xingwen for some interest. He would even take out the matter of invading the Grand Essence Realm to settle accounts. Yin Xingwen stood up with a calm expression, in that case, I'll accompany Dao Lord Ning. Since Dao Lord Ning is so confident, my Grand Change Realm still has a lot to rely on Dao Lord Ning. Ning Cheng didn't care about Yin Xingwen's words at all and said without any politeness, lead the way. If he hadn't fought with Ning Cheng, Feng Xian would have already jumped out to target Ning Cheng. But now, he only hoped that he wouldn't have anything to do with Ning Cheng. In his eyes, Ning Cheng was a nightmare. Even without Ping Cauldron Great Emperor, this nightmare was already so terrifying. Now that he had Ping Cauldron Great Emperor's help, he didn't dare to touch this nightmare. At this time, he only hoped to end things in the Great Change Realm as soon as possible and use Yin Xingwen to go to heavens beyond to find the trace of his Feng clan's ancient bloodline. Yin Xingwen didn't argue with Ning Cheng. He didn't have the means to deal with Ning Cheng, and he couldn't deal with him now. No matter from which point of view, as a realm lord, he didn't want the demonic creatures to occupy the Great Change Realm. Since Ning Cheng said that he would help in front of so many powerhouses, he definitely wouldn't go back on his words. Since he could borrow power, why wouldn't he, Yin Xingwen, use it? Under Yin Xingwen's lead, everyone quickly passed through several seals and restrictions and came to a larger hall. The 18,000 girls hadn't been gathered yet, but there were thousands of girls imprisoned in the hall. These girls were imprisoned, and once 18,000 people were gathered, they would immediately start refining the ceiling pillars. Slap. A slap was heard, followed by an angry voice, so what if your father is the sect master of the Qing Nian divine sect? See, the woman next to this emperor is one of the top 3 in the 5 realms pill competition. She's the Dao companion of Ning Cheng, the Dao lord of the Tai Su Dao court. Isn't she still following behind this emperor to serve him? Let me tell you, as long as you enter here, you have to think of yourself as a ceiling pillar. For the sake of the Great Change Realm, this emperor touching you is giving you face." The angry voice suddenly stopped, because he saw many people coming in. When he saw Yin Xingwen walking in front of him, he was shocked and hurriedly put down his perverted hands that were about to touch the young girl. He walked over quickly and bowed. Seal Hall Deacon Chu Rui greets the Realm Lord, Dao Lords, Sect Masters, and Seniors. When the girls saw so many powerhouses coming in, their faces showed sadness. They all thought that the refining of the ceiling pillars had begun. They were innocent, but because of their kindness, they were caught and suppressed here. Chapter 1233. Is the woman next to you Dao Lord Ning's Dao companion? Jade Clear Dao Court's Dao Unification Holy Emperor Wei Xinghao suddenly asked. He didn't have any good intentions in asking this question. Ning Cheng's imposing manner was very big, and he even spoke a lot of high-sounding words, while carrying a noble aura. Now that his Dao companion followed a little deacon, how would Ning Cheng deal with such a loss of face? Yes, yes. Chu Rui didn't know Ning Cheng, and even if he knew him, he wouldn't dare to look at these big shots who came in. At most, he would just glance at them and bow to them. Shan Yaotzen opened her mouth wide and looked at Ning Cheng standing next to Yin Xingwen in shock. She didn't expect Ning Cheng to appear here. Just a moment later, her face turned pale. Ning Cheng spoke in a sarcastic tone, "It's not easy to become a pure body suppression girl. I was wondering how senior apprentice sister Shan could become a pure body suppression girl. It turns out that she's a deacon's wife. But why didn't I think that senior apprentice sister Shan would become my Dao companion? With a Dao companion like senior apprentice sister Shan, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night." Shan Yaotzen didn't expect to meet Ning Cheng under such circumstances. In fact, she felt a little uneasy when she pretended to be Ning Cheng's Dao companion. It's just that Ning Cheng had a good reputation in the Great Change realm. After she pretended to be Ning Cheng's Dao companion, she not only gained too much glory but also a lot of convenience. If it weren't for the eruption of the underground demonic creatures, she would still be living a good life. Although many people didn't like Ning Cheng, no one dared to touch her, who was suspected to be Ning Cheng's Dao companion. When the underground demonic creatures erupted, the Great Change realm looked for a pure body girl to suppress the demonic creatures. Naturally, she was brought here. Unfortunately, she didn't fit in with kindness at all. She wasn't qualified to be the ceiling pillar to suppress the demonic creatures, but she had a good appearance. So, in order to survive, she could only become Chu Rui's follower. "You're Ning, Dao Lord Ning." If Chu Rui still didn't know that the man with the ordinary spear in front of him was Ning Cheng, then he would be a pig. Even if these girls were sent here for pure suppression, they still sacrificed themselves for the sake of the Grand Change realm. "You're just a deacon, yet you dare to touch me here. Living is just a waste of air." As Ning Cheng spoke, he sent out a Dao charm handprint. No one stopped Ning Cheng. Since Chu Rui was able to become a deacon in this place, then naturally he had a strong background. Those who had enmity with Ning Cheng, of course, hoped that Ning Cheng would have more and more enemies, while those who did not have enmity with Ning Cheng, could not bear to see such a shameless person like Chu Rui. Chu Rui, a Dao actualization divine emperor, couldn't even beg for mercy and was slapped into nothingness. Shan Yaotzen, who stood next to Chu Rui, froze. She had also heard some news about Ning Cheng returning to the Grand Essence realm. She had even heard that he had become Dao Lord Grand Essence and defeated the Grand Change Dao Court's army. But she never expected that Ning Cheng would dare to come to the Grand Change realm. Not only did he dare to come here, but he also dared to kill Deacon Chu Rui of the Sealing Hall in front of the Celestial Literature World Master. Even if he did not consider these things, when did Ning Cheng possess such strength? She clearly remembered that when she first met Ning Cheng's cultivation was far inferior to hers. Compared to Ning Cheng, she was an unreachable existence. But how many years had passed since then? Ning Cheng was already an unreachable existence for her. The matters of the world were nothing more than this. The imprisoned girls on seeing Ning Cheng kill Chu Rui directly felt a little sluggish. What was going on? Chu Rui was a king-like existence in this place, but now he was slapped into nothingness. Innocent sisters, Su Shenghe has no sense of shame. He used the kindness of human nature to suppress others. It's despicable. After Dao Lord Grand Essence Ning Cheng learned about this, he killed Su Shenghe to give justice to all sisters. Now, all sisters are free. Bai Ling, as a female Dao Lord, was the first to stand up and explain the situation. Yin Xingwen's expression turned a little ugly. He should have said those words instead. Bai Ling obviously saw that he wanted to speak, so she spoke ahead of him. From the looks of it, Bai Ling had a lot of opinions about him. Don't look at just a few thousand women. Once all of them were released, it would damage his reputation a lot. Thinking of this, Yin Xingwen no longer cared about shame and spoke up, Dao Lord Bai Ling is right. After learning about this, I felt very sad. As the Great Change Realm's Realm Master, I have a direct responsibility. I trusted Su Shenghe too much. If I knew that he had captured all my junior apprentice sisters to suppress others, I would have let all my junior apprentice sisters go free even if I had to sacrifice an array Dao Master. Fortunately, Dao Lord Ning got the news in time and came to tell me. But it wasn't too late. After killing Su Shenghe, we immediately rushed over. Yin Xingwen's words were extremely vague. He didn't say how Su Shenghe deceived him. Moreover, his tone implied that after listening to Ning Cheng's words, he wanted to destroy Su Shenghe together with Ning Cheng. However, none of the imprisoned girls cared about this. No matter how kind they wouldn't be willing to be refined into a suppressive pillar. At this time, everyone only felt joy and gratitude. Because of their kindness, few of them hated the person who captured them. For them, they were more grateful to the person who rescued them. Although Yin Xingwen pulled some points for himself, it couldn't change their minds. The reason why they were rescued was mainly because of Dao Lord Tai Su Ning Cheng. Looking at the thousands of rescued girls, Ning Cheng asked with a gloomy expression, "Is everyone here? Why don't I see the pure-body girl refining the array heart?" Ning Cheng's words were completely intentional. Shan Yaotzen, who didn't know whether to advance or retreat, quickly spoke up, "There is a sealed space in the innermost part. I heard that the sealed space is used as an array heart." Without waiting for Shan Yaotzen to finish, Ning Cheng had already stepped into the hall. Sure enough, after crossing the hall, Ning Cheng saw an ingenious seal restriction. Even Ning Cheng couldn't help but admire this Su Shenghe. Even he didn't notice this restriction the first time. Standing at the entrance of the restriction, Ning Cheng didn't wait for Yin Xingwen to open the restriction and directly raised his hand to tear it open. Ning Cheng directly tore open a powerful seal restriction with his bare hands. A young girl in a light green dress with her hair draped over her shoulders was restrained on a lotus platform. "An E?" Ning Cheng blurted out. After an E was selected by Lan Yinyu to enter the Clear Heart 3-Star Academy, he hadn't seen an E again. Later, in the Eternal Night Domain, he saw an Yi statue, and then took an Yi statue with him. It was only when he returned to Graceful Star Mainland and found traces of an Yi tearing through space in the Celestial Moon Pill Gate that he guessed that an Yi's cultivation had been sealed or that she had reincarnated. Even so, Ning Cheng didn't expect to see an Yi many years later in the Grand Change Realm, which had nothing to do with him. Even if his thoughts raced, he couldn't imagine that an Yi would appear in this place. "Dao Lord Ning, do you know this woman?" Yin Xingwen suspected that Ning Cheng deliberately said that he knew this woman. That way, he could use it as an excuse to find trouble with him. Although he didn't fear Ning Cheng, he didn't want to fall into such a trap. Ning Cheng looked at Yin Xingwen coldly and said, "Xingwen Realm Master, an Yi is one of my most important friends. If anything happens to her, I won't forget where she died." An Yi was the first person to go through life and death with Ning Cheng after he came to Graceful Star Mainland alone. Even the secret of his mysterious yellow bead, an Yi was the first person to know about it. She and an E had gone through many trials and tribulations together, and it was a friendship that could never be forgotten. No matter who brought an E here, he wouldn't let it go. Yin Xingwen's face sank, but Jie Xinshui could tell that Ning Qing really knew an E. He quickly said, "In that case, let's wait for Dao Lord Ning outside. After Dao Lord Ning talks to his friends, we can discuss how to deal with the underground demonic creatures." At this time, no one really wanted to start internal strife. The underground demonic creatures were so terrifying that everyone needed to work together the most. Yin Xingwen didn't refute Jie Xinshui's words, and the others naturally didn't want to oppose it. They all left the seal and gave the space to Ning Qing. Ning Qing suppressed the anger in his heart and raised his hand to form a few hand seals with his Dao charm. The shackles on An Yi's body cracked open. An Yi's Dao charm finally became clear, and Ning Qing also caught a glimpse of her cultivation. She had reached the full-circle Dao transformation realm. After a few breaths, An Yi opened her eyes in a daze. Then, her eyes filled with surprise. "Big brother Ning, it's really you. Did you come to save me again? An Yi, why are you here?" Ning Qing felt that something was wrong with An Yi, but he couldn't tell what exactly was wrong. While talking, Ning Qing raised his hand and took out a few medicinal pills and handed them to An Yi. An Yi didn't even look at them before putting Ning Qing's medicinal pills into her mouth. Ning Qing was the person she trusted the most, no one else. "Big brother Ning, were you the one who lifted the seal on my statue? I went to that place later, but I couldn't find Big brother Ning. After that, I wandered around in the void and heard the news of a pill sage named Ning Qing taking the top 3 in the 5 realms pill competition. I didn't know if it was Big brother Ning, so I found a way to come to the Great Change realm." As An Yi spoke until here, Ning Qing knew that An Yi must have missed out a lot of information. He raised his hand to stop An Yi from continuing. "An Yi, wait, look at the statue." Ning Qing always felt that An Yi's statue had a trace of spirituality. With his current knowledge and cultivation, he could vaguely see that this statue had a trace of An Yi's soul sealed within it. Ning Qing had carefully kept this statue in the mysterious yellow bead. Perhaps it was because he had taken away An Yi's statue that An Yi's seal was unlocked. "Big brother Ning, hurry up and put away the statue." An Yi saw the statue and immediately cried out in panic. Ning Qing didn't know what An Yi meant, but he believed in An Yi's words. As soon as An Yi said those words, he immediately put away An Yi's statue. Nevertheless, it was still too late. A dull tremor erupted in the void, and even with Ning Qing's cultivation, he couldn't help but shiver subconsciously. Before he could react, a majestic aura that blotted out the sky and covered the earth came crashing down. This terrifying imposing aura directly enveloped him, giving him a feeling of irresistibility. Chapter 1234. Not good. Ning Qing raised his hand and grabbed An Yi beside him. The creation divine spear exploded with thousands of spear flares and killing intent. In the face of this terrifying aura, any law or Dao rune aura had no meaning. All nomological power or one's own Dao rune power were like floating clouds in the face of this aura. The creation divine spear relied entirely on its own spear intent. Under Ning Qing's guidance, it swept away almost all the killing aura in this space and blasted towards this majestic pressure. Two terrifying forces blasted together. Boom boom boom. Not to mention the sealed hall, even the surrounding buildings were turned into nothingness under this terrifying momentum. Void cracks appeared in the space, and the majestic aura that seemed to be pressing down from the sky was blocked by Ning Qing's creation divine spear. A vortex space that looked like a spider web appeared, and endless terrifying aura overflowed from this spider web. Anyone within the range of this aura, even a Dao integration expert, would be blasted back by the terrifying power. The weaker ones even spat out blood and flew backward. The countless cultivators in the encampment fell into an uproar. The black hole in the void and the terrifying suppressive killing intent made everyone feel uneasy. As for the countless cave abodes that had turned into flying ashes, no one cared about them. Everyone hurriedly retreated, wanting to escape from the terrifying vortex beneath the spiderweb-like void cracks. Ning Qing bore the brunt of the attack and immediately spat out several mouthfuls of blood. He flew backward, and the bones in his body cracked. His Tao rune laws also became chaotic at this moment, and he couldn't condense them at all. Before he landed on the ground, Ning Qing swallowed a drop of quintessential essence of the universe. His injuries were very serious. Under this majestic aura that ignored laws and Tao runes, his Tao rune laws had some cracks. If he used elixirs, he was afraid that it would take him a few months to recover. What was this place? He was in the middle of a group of tigers. Once he lost his strength, he would be like a lamb waiting to die. Under the quintessential essence of the universe, Ning Cheng's Tao rune injuries quickly healed. As for the physical injuries, they were nothing to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng, who landed on the ground again, stared blankly at the space above the ruins. The spider web-like void crack seemed to be shrinking, but the terrifying aura was still surging. Moreover, the aura was getting more and more majestic. Obviously, the next wave of attacks would come. Ning Cheng was shocked. What cultivation level was this? Third step. Feng Huangmei was also a third-step world creation realm expert, but he was sure that Feng Huangmei didn't even have 1/10 of this move. Moreover, the other party was separated by an endless void. If the other party stood in front of him, Ning Cheng might not even be able to stand up to him. He vaguely heard an angry snort from the end of the void. Then, the majestic aura condensed again in the void above his head. At this moment, not only Ning Cheng, but all you, Ning Cheng, but also all. What kind of cultivation did he have to be able to unleash such a terrifying attack? Everyone stared in horror at the spiderweb cracks in the void that had yet to condense. Under the lock of such a terrifying aura, no one dared to continue running away. They were all waiting for the majestic and boundless aura to descend upon them once again. And they, on an uninhabited planet infinitely far from the great change realm, a young man stared at the majestic aura fluctuations not far away in shock and murmured, "So strong. What kind of strength is this? To be able to unleash such a powerful attack across countless positional planes?" On the young man's back, there was a sheathless broadsword on his back. "Brother Yi, I'm afraid we have to leave quickly. Looking at this terrifying aura, the next attack will probably turn this planet into nothingness." The one who spoke was a slightly chubby middle-aged man. His skin was very white, and the Tao charm around him had completely integrated with the void. Apparently, he was also a peerless powerhouse. Behind this slightly chubby middle-aged man was a young woman. She also frowned, apparently still having some lingering fear from the previous wave of attacks. "That person is very strong." After a long while, the young woman spoke slowly. The young man and the chubby middle-aged man both understood what the young woman meant. She wasn't talking about the person who launched the attack, but the person who blocked it. The previous terrifying attack was obviously meant to kill someone, but it didn't achieve the desired effect. Otherwise, he wouldn't have condensed his aura for a second time. That majestic attack actually didn't kill a single person. Clearly, that person was very strong. The young man with the broadsword looked up at the vast void and felt the increasingly majestic oppressive aura. He then said in a low voice, "Why should I leave? This is obviously an almighty from another positional plane. He wants to use his boundless great divine power to cross the endless void to deal with people. Does he want to go over my head? I won't let him have his way. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the power to cross planes." Just as the young man with the broadsword finished speaking, another majestic aura that was just as terrifying as the previous one came crashing down. This aura directly ignored the void planet they were on. It seemed like it wanted to crush this void planet into nothingness. At this moment, even if the few of them wanted to leave, they couldn't. The young man suddenly flew up, and the broadsword on his back had already slashed out. A purple light that was like peerless lightning directly turned the entire void into a purple saber light. There were no laws, no Tao charm, no divine power, only a saber light. Bang! A dull sound exploded in the endless void. Countless broken planets were turned into nothingness under this majestic aura. After the purple light, the boundless majestic aura disappeared without a trace. The void returned to its original state, as though nothing had happened. Boom! The young man landed on the void planet. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, and the uninhabited planet under his feet shattered inch by inch. "Brother Yi, are you okay?" The slightly chubby middle-aged man hurriedly flew over and asked worriedly. The young man's broadsword once again returned to its simple appearance. He raised his hand and threw it, and the broadsword hung naturally on his back. "I'm fine. This guy won't dare to come a third time. This person is very strong. I'm not his match now," the young man said solemnly as he looked at the disappearing aura in the void. The young woman also flew over and said with a cold tone, "I wonder which bastard actually attracted such a terrifying powerhouse to cross planes to attack." The young man's gaze pierced through the void. After a while, he said, "The person who attracted the attack is also very strong. Even if I didn't help him block this attack probably wouldn't have been able to do anything to him. However, there will definitely be a third wave of attack. Let's not care about this. Let's go. Those old fellows might have already found the place." Outside the void that passed through countless planes, in a misty realm, a 9-petaled green lotus platform floated above a golden lotus pond. The 9-petaled lotus platform was clearly missing 3 petals. On this lotus platform that was missing 3 petals sat a stunningly beautiful woman. However, her face was covered in frost. Her tender, white, lotus-like wrist was still placed in the void. Good, good. I didn't expect that after not going out for so many years, there would actually be 2 people who can stop me. I want to see who dares to stop me, Xing Shi. After I left, how many amazing talents have appeared in this void? The stunningly beautiful woman slowly put down her lotus-like arm, and her voice carried a trace of sharp killing intent. What's going on? Outside the Great Change Realm's underground abyss, everyone looked at the void in amazement. That majestic attack did not come down and dissipated. Ning Cheng frowned slightly. He gripped the good fortune divine spear tightly and was ready to go. As soon as the attack fell, he would shoot it with all his strength. Moreover, he also guessed why the attack came down. It should have something to do with an Yi statue. Most likely, it was the statue's positioning. Because of the statue's positioning, the attack could accurately break through countless planes and fall on his head. The statue had a positioning system. As long as he blocked this kind of attack from the void several times in a row, the attack from the void would lose its positioning and no longer pose any threat to him. Don't worry. Since the first attack didn't take me away, and the second attack didn't come down, they won't be able to find my position in a short time. An Yi, who stood next to Ning Cheng, also breathed a sigh of relief and whispered. Well, let's talk about this later. Let's go and take a look. Ning Cheng looked at the ruins of the cave abodes and the countless bewildered human cultivators. He knew that he had to stabilize everyone at this time. Otherwise, the underground demonic creatures would take advantage of the situation and rush out, which would be a fatal blow. Tao Lord Ning, what happened just now? How did a peerless expert come here to tear through the Great Change Realm's domain defense array and attack this place? Yin Xingwen was the first to ask. His expression was a little ugly. That attack just now was so terrifying that even he and Ning Cheng could not block it without suffering any injuries. He naturally did not know that Ning Cheng was not only injured, but his injuries were not light. Ning Cheng had only used a drop of quintessential essence of the universe. Ning Cheng smiled. I'm not very sure. Fortunately, it's all right now. Let's discuss how to deal with the underground demonic creatures. Bai Ling also asked in doubt, why did the second attack gather a more majestic aura in the void, but it didn't come down? Ning Cheng had a good impression of Bai Ling, the Yaohua Dao Court's Dao Lord. Since she took the initiative to ask, Ning Cheng did not hide it. As far as I know, the second attack should have angered an expert in our side of the space. That expert took action midway and blocked the second attack. There was one more thing that Ning Cheng did not say. That is, the second attack was blocked midway. The guy who wanted to capture an Yi could not find an Yi's specific location, so there was no third attack. Jie Xinxue stood up and said, Dao Lord Ning is right. At this time, we should deal with those demonic creatures first. Once the demonic creatures in the underground abyss take the opportunity to attack, I'm afraid. Before Jie Xinxue could finish speaking, the entire sky darkened. Endless underground demonic creatures swarmed out as if they had calculated the right time. Chapter 1235. Countless demonic creatures began to attack the defense array. The defense array was not very strong to begin with, and with just one attack, it began to crack. Everyone looked at Ning Cheng, even Yin Xingwen looked at Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng knew why everyone was looking at him, it was because his battle record was just too impressive. With the newly formed Dao Court army of the Grand Essence Realm, he defeated the powerful attacks of the Grand Change Realm several times. At this time, facing the powerful attack of the demon, everyone could not help but place their hopes on him. Dao Lords, please organize the Dao Court army to stop the demonic creatures from attacking the defensive formation. Xingwen Realm Master, those rogue cultivators and some sect disciples still need you to lead them to assist the Dao Court army. Ning Cheng knew that it would be a waste of time to arrange the trap and kill array at this time. Ao Beijiang sneered. I thought Dao Lord Ning had some good ideas. At the end of the day, it's still the same as our previous idea. In fact, it might even be worse. However, not everyone had a grudge against Ning Cheng like Ao Beijiang. Dao Lord Bai Ling of the Yaohua Dao Court and Dao Lord Jie Xinxue of the Taishan Dao Court did not hesitate at all. They began to command their respective Dao Court armies to counterattack the demonic creatures. Although Ao Beijiang was a Dao integration expert, he was nothing in the eyes of the Dao Lords. At this moment, the demonic creatures in the underground abyss had erupted, and the Grand Change Realm was in danger of survival. Even though there were conflicts between the various Dao courts, no one played any tricks. Even the Cloud Light Dao Court and the Jade Clear Dao Court, who had been taught a lesson by Ning Cheng, commanded their respective Dao Court armies to press forward. Yin Xingwen went straight to the point. As the master of a realm, he cared about the safety of the Great Change Realm more than anyone else. Although they knew that Ning Cheng's method was only this, but at this moment, other than using Ning Cheng's method of blocking, they really did not have any other means. Initially, Ning Cheng still had some doubts. With so many powerhouses in the Great Change Realm, no matter how many demonic creatures there were, it shouldn't be impossible to stop them. But now that the endless demonic creatures and the numerous cultivators were fighting against each other, Ning Cheng could see it clearly. The demonic creatures also had top-notch experts, and there were more than a dozen of them. Not only that, these demonic creatures also knew how to use trap and kill arrays. However, the trap and kill array formed by demonic creatures did not use array flags, but countless demonic creatures piled up together. Even a top-notch powerhouse like Yin Xingwen could only defend himself under the siege of a few top-notch powerhouses and the endless confinement killing formation. He could kill countless monsters with a casual strike, but there was no end to the number of monsters. If he killed one, another pair would appear. No matter how many he killed, it would just be a waste of energy. Even though they had temporarily stopped the demonic creature's attack, everyone knew that if they did not come up with a countermeasure in time, the demonic creatures would sooner or later break through the Dao Court's defensive line. There was no end to the demonic creatures. Although the Dao Court's army was large, there was a limit to their numbers. Once the defense line of the Dao Court army was breached, the demonic creatures would flood the entire Great Change Realm, and it would only be a matter of time before the Great Change Realm was occupied by the demonic creatures. Ning Qing suddenly called out in a clear voice, "All array Dao masters follow behind me to stabilize the trap and kill array." As he spoke, Ning Qing rushed to a huge gap created by the demonic creatures. He then raised his hand and brought out a pale white stone arch bridge, the first bridge of coping. As soon as the first bridge of coping came out, the raging sea of blood and the chilly wind swept away all the monsters that rushed over. The array flags in Ning Cheng's hand didn't stop at all. Instead, he threw them out one after another. In front of the first bridge of coping, a new trap and kill array appeared. Although this new trap and kill array only trapped a corner of the vast battlefield, it grew stronger and stronger under the obstruction of the first bridge of coping. The bridge of coping devoured countless demonic creatures, and even if the demonic creatures rushed over to replenish them, it would be too late. As a result, the demonic creatures on this side instantly became sparse. In just a dozen breaths, Ning Cheng's trap and kill array formed a shadow. Those powerful demonic creatures immediately discovered the situation here, and more powerful demonic creatures swarmed over. Apparently, they didn't want Ning Cheng to set up a new trap and kill array. Yin Xingwen and the others naturally weren't idiots. Therefore, when Ning Cheng made his move, all the powerhouses felt pleasantly surprised. Ning Cheng's attainments in the Tao of arrays clearly surpassed Su Xinghe's. Not to mention surpassing Su Xinghe, even several Su Xinghe wouldn't be as good as Ning Cheng. Looking at the trap and kill array arranged under Su Xinghe's leadership, and then looking at the corner of the trap and kill array that Ning Cheng had just set up, they couldn't compare at all. Previously, Su Xinghe's trap and kill array barely blocked the demonic creatures from rushing out with the help of the Dao Court's army. But now, Ning Cheng's trap and kill array didn't have the help of the Dao Court's army at all. Instead, it relied on the first bridge of coping spirit technique. Even so, the demonic creatures that swarmed over died under the trap and kill array. Moreover, Ning Cheng had only set up a corner of the trap and kill array. Once Ning Cheng set up the entire trap and kill array, these demonic creatures would be nothing but farts. No matter how strong they would still be driven into the underground abyss. Moreover, such a colossal trap and kill array only needed a corner to work. Those who weren't proficient in the Tao of arrays wouldn't have even heard of such a thing. Didn't the trap and kill array need to be fully set up before it could work? Yin Xingwen immediately understood Ning Cheng's value. He didn't hesitate to issue an order. Not only did he transfer the entire Luoying Dao Court's army to protect Ning Cheng, but he also ordered all the array Dao grandmasters to follow Ning Cheng's orders. Seeing Ning Cheng's terrifying attainments in the Tao of arrays, Yin Xingwen felt a faint sense of fear in his heart. He felt that his previous loss to Ning Cheng wasn't an accident. If he went to the Grand Essence Realm again, he would definitely lose again. More and more demonic creatures swarmed towards Ning Cheng, and their levels also grew higher and higher. Even with the help of the Dao Court's army, Ning Cheng started to feel strained. He didn't hesitate to bring out the second Looking Village Bridge and the third Forgetting River Bridge. The three arched bridges of the Seven Bridges Spirit Technique formed a line, and endless Dao Charm killing intent swept out. No matter how many demonic creatures swarmed over, they couldn't escape the strangulation of these three bridges. Ning Cheng's movements also grew faster and faster, and the range of the trap and kill array he set up also grew larger and larger. The demonic creatures were strangled in droves, and a large number of demon crystals were swept away by the three stone-arched bridges. As for the array Dao grandmasters who followed behind Ning Cheng, they only needed to reinforce the trap and kill array that Ning Cheng had set up. With the protection of these trap and kill arrays, the pressure on the Dao Court's army protecting the trap and kill array was greatly reduced. As the demonic creatures continued to rush towards Ning Cheng, the Dao Court's army and the other powerhouses also continued to rush over. In just half an incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng's position became the center of the entire battlefield. Normally, these demonic creatures would have retreated a long time ago. But now, they didn't dare to retreat. They didn't know what was going on in the Grand Change realm, but an array Dao expert like Ning Cheng had suddenly appeared. Once this trap and kill array took shape, the demonic creatures would find it hard to turn things around. A sharp voice came from among the endless demonic creatures, "Those who block my demonic Dao will die." Following this voice, a huge black figure that had completely solidified appeared above Ning Cheng's head, ignoring the space between them. The black hammer, which almost tore the entire Grand Change realm apart, came crashing down. The trap and kill array around Ning Cheng, which had yet to take shape, directly cracked under the Dao charm of the hammer. Not to mention that no one could stop this black figure at this moment, even if they could, they would hesitate. Ning Cheng stopped moving, raised his hand, and rolled up a long yellow river that was hundreds of thousands of feet long. As soon as the yellow river appeared, it surrounded Ning Cheng's body, and the rolling yellow waves roared down. The Dao charm and killing intent of death continued to spread on the roaring yellow river, and the long river that was hundreds of thousands of feet long continued to grow. Boom! The black hammer that tore through the void and the surging yellow river collided, and the killing intent overflowed. The terrifying Dao charm and law aura turned all the demonic creatures and Dao court soldiers into nothingness. Ning Cheng stopped arranging the trap and kill array, and the killing intent of the Dao charm and killing intent around him grew stronger. A cyan stone arch bridge appeared under his feet, and the Yellow Springs Bridge's killing intent and Dao charm kept rolling over the bridge. The Yellow Springs was boundless, without any good or evil. Souls turned to dust, and spirits lost. This demonic creature was too powerful, and even he couldn't stop the deaths of those Dao court soldiers. If he wanted to continue arranging the trap and kill array, he had to kill this demonic creature first. The Good Fortune Divine Spear rolled up a sky full of killing intent and blasted towards the tall demonic creature, ignoring the distance between them. After the yellow roaring river blocked the terrifying giant hammer, it once again surrounded Ning Cheng's body. At this time, Ning Cheng stepped on the Yellow Springs Bridge, and the roaring yellow river rolled around him. Holding the Good Fortune Divine Spear, he rushed towards the tall demonic creature like a god. Boom! The Good Fortune Divine Spear and the Dao charm of the demonic creature's giant hammer clashed once again, and the endless killing intent that filled the sky became even more unobstructed this time. Unlike last time, Ning Cheng's domain blocked the killing intent that rushed towards the Dao court's army. Ning Cheng blocked the Dao charm killing intent that rushed towards the Dao court's army, but no one stopped the Dao charm killing intent that rushed towards the demonic creature. This endless killing intent directly blasted towards the densely packed underground demonic creatures, and sharp and tearing cries filled the entire battlefield at this moment. In the space affected by this terrifying Dao charm killing intent, not a single demonic creature could survive. At this moment, even more demonic creatures didn't have time to rush in. The place where the killing intent spread out actually formed a vacuum. The tall giant demonic creature let out another sharp cry, and more demonic creatures swarmed in. The fourth Yellow Springs Bridge under Ning Cheng's feet didn't move at all. Instead, he raised his hand and sent out a silent law-breaking spirit technique. The huge demonic creature that rushed towards Ning Cheng again suddenly felt the aura of laws around it weaken. The demonic creature instantly understood what was going on. This was a law-breaking spirit technique. Unexpectedly, someone here had comprehended such a powerful law-breaking spirit technique. His eyes filled with horror. Once the law-breaking spirit technique trapped him, no matter how strong he was, he wouldn't be the opponent of this person in front of him. Retreat. After the giant demonic creature realized that Ning Cheng wasn't just an expert in array Dao but could also use an law-breaking spirit technique, he didn't hesitate to issue the order to retreat. Although he wasn't the master of the underground abyss, he had the right to issue such an order. Any one of the 10 underground demons could issue such an order. Chapter 1236. Ning Cheng did not care about the other party's retreat. The reason why he arranged the trap and kill array was because it was the simplest and most effective way to deal with this situation. Now that so many demons thought that he was a pushover, it would be strange if he didn't kill them. Time wheels blasted out, and the space around Ning Cheng, which had just been filled with demonic creatures, once again turned into a vacuum. The endless demonic creatures turned into nothingness in front of the time wheel. They didn't even have a chance to retreat. The giant demon, on seeing that Ning Cheng still had such a card up his sleeve, did not dare to stay any longer, and immediately retreated in a crazed manner. Ning Cheng did not give chase. If not for his lack of fire-attributed spirit techniques, his celestial river flame could have directly strangled all the low-level demonic beasts. So strong. Yin Xingwen did not take advantage of the victory to chase after Ning Cheng. Instead, he looked at Ning Cheng's moves with a gloomy heart. He also knew about Ning Cheng's 7 bridges spirit technique. As for Ning Cheng's time wheel, he also didn't care about it. Although he also had such a large-scale killing method, Ning Cheng's law-breaking spirit technique was simply too strong. There were also a few people who knew about law-breaking spirit techniques like Ning Cheng, who could use a law-breaking spirit technique to scare away one of the 10 devils in the stable Grand Change realm. From this, it showed that Ning Cheng's understanding of the laws of heaven and earth far surpassed Yin Xingwen's. Ao Beijiang looked at Ning Cheng in disbelief. He naturally knew about the power of the 10 abyss devils. At least in a one-on-one fight, he would not dare to say that he would be able to blow away one of the 10 abyss devils. However, Ning Cheng, under the siege of countless devils, easily managed to do it. From this point, he could see that Ning Cheng's strength far surpassed his own. It was a good thing that Ning Cheng had some treasures on him, but unfortunately, he had missed the best time to snatch those treasures, allowing Ning Cheng to grow. Ning Cheng's growth rate had far exceeded his expectations. With Ning Cheng's strength, if he, Ao Beijiang, wanted to snatch treasures, it would truly be courting death. Ao Beijiang suddenly felt aggrieved. Back then, he had been struck back by a primordial chaos sacred emperor in the beyond of heaven and earth. Now that he was here, it was a primordial essence sacred emperor that he did not dare to move. At this moment, he felt that his Tao integration was a joke. A feeling of old age welled up in Ao Beijiang's heart. There was only a kind of desolation in his heart. He knew that his great Tao was probably going to end here, unless there was a miracle that could cheer him up again. He subconsciously glanced at Feng Xian in the distance. After Feng Xian came back from the Grand Essence realm for the second time, he had lost all his fighting spirit. He had even ridiculed Feng Xian. But now, how similar was he to Feng Xian? The underground demons retreated once again, and the soldiers of the Tao court heaved a sigh of relief. They began to sort out their gains and count their losses. Yin Xingwen forcibly hid the fear in his heart and arrived in front of Ning Cheng with the other powerhouses. Tao Lord Ning is indeed powerful. He used his own strength to repel countless demonic creatures. He's much stronger than us. Gu Ruoshi was a Tao integration expert, so she had no qualms about speaking. Ning Cheng showed a smile. I just happen to have a spiritual technique that can make these demonic beings feel dread. That demonic being that attacked me across space was really powerful. If it wasn't for my rather good understanding of the laws, would have suffered a great loss. Tao Lord Ning's divine ability to break the laws truly is breathtaking. Even with the 7 bridges divine ability, those devils weren't able to do anything to him. However, the demonic creature that Tao Lord Ning fought just now was indeed powerful. It was one of the 10 underground demons. Jie Xinxue stood up and explained. 10 underground demons? Ning Cheng asked in confusion. A fat monk took the initiative to answer, yes, the Great Change Abyss is a gathering place for demonic creatures. In the beginning, the underground abyss could provide trials for great change realm cultivators, but no one cared. Later, the underground abyss erupted, and 10 powerful devils appeared. These 10 powerful devils rushed out of the underground abyss and occupied almost the entire Great Change realm. Fortunately, there were countless powerhouses in the Great Change realm at that time. These powerhouses joined forces to suppress the underground demons again, and the 10 underground demons were sealed. In order to suppress the underground demons forever, a highly respected senior in the Grand Change realm built a temple here to gather the power of will. As the wish power poured in, the temple condensed into a giant tree, which was the scorched tree. Later, the scorched tree replaced the temple to suppress the underground demons. However, for some reason, the scorched tree that suppressed the underground abyss suddenly began to wither and finally lost its vitality. Without the scorched tree, the later generations could not continue to set up the wish power temple. He could only use the method of sealing to seal the 10 underground devils. However, this thing couldn't last for long. Until today, the 10 underground demons finally erupted. Ning Cheng cupped his fists and asked, "May I ask who this master is?" The fat monk also cupped his fists. "Tao Lord Ning is too polite. I'm Yen Kong from the Thousand Buddha Sacred Tao sect." "So it's Master Yen Kong from the 3 major Tao sects." "I heard it from a friend, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Why does Master Yen Kong know so much about it?" Ning Cheng asked in doubt. It wasn't the first time he heard about wish power. As long as it involved wish power, Ning Cheng would feel a little strange. Because the senior who built the temple was the Thousand Buddha Sacred Tao sect's Thousand Buddha Sacred Emperor. Yen Kong spoke with a respectful tone. "So that's how it is. Forgive me for being disrespectful." Ning Cheng quickly expressed his respect. Even the other people's views on Yen Kong had changed. Not many people in the Great Change realm knew about the Thousand Buddha Sacred Emperor building a temple to suppress the underground demons. "Tao Lord Ning, Master Yen Kong, now that the demons have retreated, what should we do? Do we continue to arrange the trap and kill Array, or attack?" Yin Xingwen took the initiative to speak. He wasn't looking for a sense of existence, but worried that the underground demons would take over the Great Change realm. It wasn't easy to rope in Ning Cheng, a free Array Tao Grandmaster, as a helper. If he didn't make use of him, once Ning Cheng left, it wouldn't be easy to invite Ning Cheng over again. As for forcing Ning Cheng to stay, he had this idea when Ning Cheng first arrived. But now, he had already let go of this idea. With Ning Cheng's strength, it meant that he had nothing to fear. If he wanted to force Ning Cheng to stay, he would have to be a pig with a brain. Mentioning Master Yen Kong in his words was to give face to the Thousand Buddha Sacred Emperor. However, Master Yen Kong shook his head. "It's not realistic to attack. Few demons have spiritual wisdom, and there are countless of them. It's impossible to kill them all. If we could kill all the demons, then we wouldn't have built a temple to suppress them." Ning Cheng also nodded. "Master Yen Kong is right. Let's continue to arrange this trap and kill Array, and then assemble the trap and kill Array. The first step is to drive the underground demons underground, and then we can discuss further." Yin Xingwen looked at Ning Cheng and hesitated for a long time. He seemed to want to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Previously, he thought that he had Ning Cheng in his grasp and didn't have to worry about anything. But now that Ning Cheng stood at the same height as him, or even higher than him, he finally had some scruples. But if he didn't give Ning Cheng a little trouble, he wouldn't be willing. Besides, this was the best time to ask about the World Mountain. If he missed this time, he wouldn't even be able to find an opening. Ning Cheng knew that he needed Yin Xingwen's support at this time. Don't look at Yin Xingwen's inability to control the entire Grand Change realm. Moreover, he wasn't afraid of Yin Xingwen's tricks at all. "Realm Master Yin Xingwen, if you have something to say, just say it. Right now, dealing with the underground demons is everyone's business. As for the accounts between you and me, we can slowly settle them after the underground demons are suppressed. Ning Cheng spoke out straightforwardly. Yin Xingwen didn't care that Ning Cheng wanted to settle accounts with him. It would have been strange if Ning Cheng just let it go. Dao Lord Ning, I heard that you have a world mountain. If you take out the world mountain to suppress the underground demons, Dao Lord Ning can take anything from my grand change realm. Yin Xingwen spoke out directly. Yin Xingwen's words indeed had the intention of drawing hatred to Ning Cheng. More importantly, Yin Xingwen wanted to verify if Ning Cheng had the world mountain. In his opinion, with Ning Cheng's strength, if Ning Cheng really had the world mountain, it would be impossible for him to obtain the world mountain. He might as well say it directly and squeeze Ning Cheng. He knew that even if Ning Cheng had the world mountain, he wouldn't take it out. Regardless of whether Ning Cheng took out the world mountain or not, it would still cause some trouble for Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng sneered, "You're quite well informed. I do have a world mountain." When Yin Xingwen said that Ning Cheng had the world mountain, the rest of the people looked at Ning Cheng and Yin Xingwen in shock. What was the world mountain? Even if Ning Cheng really had the world mountain, what could the Grand Change Realm exchange for it? What shocked everyone even more was that Ning Cheng really admitted that he had the world mountain. Before everyone could sober up from the shock, Ning Cheng raised his hand and grabbed a small model of the world mountain and said, "I did get a model of the world mountain, but who told you about such a trivial thing? Did they want to challenge you to a fight with me?" Yin Xingwen's expression turned a little ugly, and he glared at Ao Beijiang fiercely. As a friend, he didn't just help Ao Beijiang a little bit. He didn't expect Ao Beijiang to use this against him. If it weren't for the world mountain, he wouldn't have attacked the Grand Essence Realm so easily. Sure enough, it was Ao Beijiang trying to sow discord, but Ning Cheng didn't point it out. Instead, he spoke up in a clear voice, "Dao friends, I'll start arranging the trap and kill array and compressing the trap and kill array. Everyone, please work together to help me drive these underground demonic creatures back. Speaking of which, these underground demonic creatures have something to do with me. If I hadn't broken the seal to save them, I'm afraid these underground demonic creatures wouldn't have rushed out." Master Yen Kong spoke up with a calm voice, "Dao Lord Ning, even if you didn't destroy the underground seal, those underground demonic creatures would still have erupted. It's just a matter of time. The only thing that can suppress the underground demonic creatures is the scorched tree. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to that scorched tree, but it suddenly withered." Ning Cheng asked in doubt, "Can't the scorched tree be polluted by the underground demonic creatures?" Yen Kong shook his head, "I don't know where you heard this news, but the scorched tree was initially irrigated by the power of hope. Once it grows up, it would turn into a treasure that can absorb demonic creatures. How could such a treasure be polluted by demonic creatures? The more demonic creatures there are, the more lush the scorched tree would grow." Listening to Yen Kong's words, Ning Cheng understood that the scorched tree must have withered because of an inside story. He wanted to see Shi Qianghua as soon as possible and then return to the Grand Essence Realm. He didn't want to get involved in the matters of the Grand Change Realm. Therefore, he simply said, "In that case, let's drive these demonic creatures away first. By the way, Master Yen Kong, is there any way to save the scorched tree?" Yen Kong shook his head and spoke after a long while, "Unless there's a mirage tree. But a mirage tree is extremely difficult to obtain. It's almost impossible." Chapter 1237. Ning Cheng immediately thought of the mirage tree in his mysterious yellow bead, but he did not say anything about it. If he could not investigate how the scorched tree was destroyed, then even if he contributed the mirage tree, it would still be useless. It would be better to arrange a ceiling entrapment array formation. The underground demonic creatures seem to have been suppressed by Ning Cheng's law-breaking spirit technique. After Ning Cheng completed the entire confinement and killing array and even started to compress the confinement and killing array, the underground demonic creatures didn't move at all. In just one day, the underground monsters were chased back to the underground abyss, and the huge, withered scorched tree once again appeared in front of everyone. Thank you, Tao Lord Ning. If it wasn't for you, it would be hard to say what would have happened to me. Even if he did not want to thank Ning Cheng, Yin Xingwen had to pinch his nose and publicly thank Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng knew that he and Yin Xingwen would not become friends. Moreover, he would also look for Yin Xingwen to settle accounts with him afterwards. As such, towards Yin Xingwen's gratitude, he just waved his hand and did not take it to heart. Everyone, the most important thing we need to do now is to seal the monster under the scorched tree. Otherwise, even after we leave, the demonic creatures below would still rush out. Ning Cheng took the initiative to speak. Dao Lord Jia Xinxue of the Taixuan Dao court felt a lot of admiration for Ning Cheng. The underground demonic creatures had been wreaking havoc for a long time. The entire army of the Dao court of the Grand Change Realm had been mobilized, and they had even opened the teleportation formation to the Grand Change Realm. However, they were still unable to stop these demonic creatures from wreaking havoc. As soon as Ning Cheng arrived, he drove the demonic creatures back with his confinement-killing array and law-breaking spirit technique. This was his ability. He was the first to step forward and say, Dao Lord Ning is right. Our Great Change Realm lacks top-notch array Dao experts like Dao Lord Ning. Now that we've driven the underground monsters back, it's the perfect time to seal them. I suggest that Dao Lord Ning take the lead and we work together to seal the underground abyss. Even the people who did not have a good relationship with Ning Cheng were very clear that only Ning Cheng could take on such a heavy responsibility. One could only imagine how powerful the Grand Essence Realm's Boundary Protection Grand Array was and how terrifying the Grand Essence Realm's Boundary Protection Grand Array was. Previously, when Ning Cheng used the Trap and Kill Array to push the demonic creatures back into the underground abyss, it also showed how powerful Ning Cheng's Dao of Array formations were. Following behind Jia Xinxue, everyone also agreed to Ning Cheng's proposal. Dao Lord Ning, tell me what to do. I, Yin Xingwen, will be the first to fully support you. Yin Xingwen also felt helpless. Fortunately, Ning Cheng had to leave immediately after dealing with this matter. Otherwise, Ning Cheng's reputation in the Grand Change Realm would have exceeded Yin Xingwen's. Ning Cheng spoke up calmly, I hope that all the major sects and Dao courts can come up with top-grade materials. Also, gather all the formation Dao masters in the entire Great Change Realm to help me set up the Trap and Kill sealing array. No problem. Yaohua Dao Court will be the first to agree, Bai Ling said without hesitation. Dao Lord Ning, even if we seal it directly, I'm afraid the demonic creatures will still break through the seal in a few years. Wei Xinghao said indifferently. Ning Cheng didn't care about this fellow. For him, it was his obligation to help. Since Dao friend Wei Xing has a better way, then I won't embarrass myself. I still have some matters to attend to. Goodbye. Saying that, Ning Cheng did not hesitate to turn around and leave. Wei Xinghao's expression changed. Only then did he understand that Ning Cheng had volunteered to help. He didn't have to do anything about the seal. Seeing Ning Cheng's arrogant attitude, Wei Xinghao could only shut up. All the experts present stared at Wei Xinghao fiercely, thinking to themselves, if you have the ability, then do it. You don't have the ability, yet you still want to talk nonsense. Yin Xingwen spoke up without any trace of politeness this time. Dao friend Wei Xing, Dao Lord Ning came to help out of kindness. It's not right for you to say that. I hope that the Jade Clear Dao Court can set an example and not let Dao Lord Ning down. Dao Lord Ning, we all agree to use your method to seal the underground demonic creatures. If you need any help, Dao Lord Ning, please let us know. At this time, Yin Xingwen didn't dare to offend Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng didn't continue and said in a calm voice, I hope that the Trap and Kill sealing array has an entrance. After the array is set up, anyone with a cultivation base can enter the scorched tree for a trial and obtain demonic crystals. That's good. It's just like the original seal of the Great Change Realm. Some demonic creatures can be used as a trial. Bai Ling was the first to hear the benefits of Ning Cheng's method. Secondly, this seal also needs a top-grade treasure as the array core. It's best if it's a Xiantian treasure. After saying that, Ning Cheng looked at Yin Xingwen. He didn't believe that Yin Xingwen didn't have any good treasures in his hands after becoming the Great Change Realm's realm lord for so many years. If Yin Xingwen didn't want to take out any treasures, then it didn't matter. In the future, the demonic creatures would flood again. Yaohua Dao Court's Dao Lord Protector Gu Ruoshi suddenly looked at Yin Xingwen and said, "Xingwen Realm Lord, I remember that the Luying Dao Court's Dao Crossing Pool has a Dao Crossing bead. This bead should be a postnatal spiritual treasure, right?" Ning Cheng promptly echoed, "If there's a postnatal spiritual treasure, it should be enough to seal the underground demonic creatures." Yin Xingwen's expression turned ugly. Once the Dao Crossing bead was taken away, the Luying Dao Court's Dao Crossing Pool would become useless. If it was before, he would have wanted Ning Cheng to find an excuse to take away the Dao Crossing bead. But now, the Luying Dao Court was under his control. Once the Dao Crossing bead was taken away, the cohesion of the Luying Dao Court would drop significantly. I originally planned to give this Dao Crossing bead to Dao Lord Ning. Now that I want to use it to seal the demonic creatures, I can only trouble Dao Lord Ning." Yin Xingwen said with a dry laugh. Ning Cheng didn't care about it at all. He knew that if he didn't use the Dao Crossing bead to seal the underground demonic creatures, then Yin Xingwen would never give it to him. Ning Cheng's attainments in the Dao of arrays were indeed unmatched here. After gathering all kinds of top-grade materials and array formation masters, the underground abyss sealing and killing array progressed quickly. In just a few days, after Ning Cheng used the Dao Crossing bead as the core of the sealing array, all the demonic creatures in the Scorched Tree Temple were sealed once again. Unlike the previous seals, Ning Cheng used the Dao Crossing bead to seal the killing array. The killing array absorbed the spirit essence and spiritual chi of the underground abyss, which prevented the demonic creatures from advancing. At the same time, it could also strangle the underground demonic creatures. To break the killing array's seal, someone's attainments in the Dao of arrays had to surpass Ning Cheng's. Either that, or a peerless powerhouse among the demonic creatures could directly take the third step. After the killing array was set up, the Great Change Realm's powerhouses came forward to thank Ning Cheng. Whether there was hatred or not, Ning Cheng had done a great thing for the Great Change Realm. As for Ao Beijiang and Feng Xian, who didn't get along with Ning Cheng, they had long since disappeared. Dao Lord Ning, if it weren't for your help in the Great Change Realm, the consequences would have been unimaginable. The Great Change Realm's Dao Lords, Sect Masters, and all the Dao integration powerhouses came to thank Ning Cheng. Therefore, Yin Xingwen had no choice but to come forward. From the bottom of his heart, he really wanted to thank Ning Cheng for this matter, even if Ning Cheng had used up his Dao Crossing bead. Ning Cheng's face sank. "Realm Master Xingwen, you're also the Realm Master. You led the Great Change Realm's Dao Court army to invade my Great Essence Realm. I didn't expect you to let Su Xinghe capture my friend and use him as a sealing pillar." Yin Xingwen sighed in his heart. He knew that Ning Cheng had started to settle accounts and wanted benefits. When he first invaded the Great Essence Realm, he had lost Chaos Chi and a bunch of spirit veins. Now, Ning Cheng had come to take advantage of him. As a Realm Master, he felt extremely depressed. Now that Ning Cheng had spoken up, he couldn't find anyone to support him. After all, Ning Cheng had just done something great for the Great Change Realm, made a group of friends, and deterred some people who didn't like him. This matter. Just as the Star Rune World Lord said these 3 words, he heard a cold snort. Following that, 2 women directly crossed through the void and descended. Dao runes circulated around these 2 people, and it seemed as if a kind of rosy cloud was lingering around them, making them look mysterious and noble. Ning Cheng's eyebrows jumped up. He could feel the power of these 2 women. At the same time, he sighed in his heart. The Great Change Realm was indeed far stronger than the Great Essence Realm. There were only a few Tao integration experts in the Great Essence Realm, but Tao integration experts in the Great Change Realm were too cheap. Only one or two of them would appear from time to time. The two women hovered a foot above the ground in the void with rosy clouds swirling under their feet. In terms of appearance, these two women were stunning. Even Shan Yaotzen, who had a tall figure and good looks, paled in comparison to these two women. The woman on the left glanced at everyone and asked in an indifferent tone, "Who killed Su Shenghe?" Tao Lord Bai Ling glanced at Ning Cheng and suddenly cupped his fists. Yaohua Tao Courts Bai Ling greets the two temple masters of the 7 shrines. Ning Cheng understood that they were the two temple masters of the 7 shrines. He understood that Bai Ling deliberately reminded him of who these two people were. Ning Cheng hadn't stayed in the Great Change Realm for a long time, but he also knew that the 7 shrines were the most mysterious sect in the Great Change Realm. This sect didn't even pay attention to anyone and had always done things their own way. Now that he looked at these two temple masters with eyes on their foreheads, it really was the case. The old fogey didn't care whether you were from the 7 shrines or the 8 shrines. He smiled and said, "Your grandpa Ping Ding killed him. What's the matter? Is that ugly monster your lover? Courting death?" The beautiful woman who spoke suddenly raised her hand, and a 5-colored ribbon slowly floated over. 5-element space blockade? Ning Cheng saw through this woman's spirit technique at a glance. He had seen the crudest version of this spirit technique when he was still in the starry sky. The 5-element space blockade displayed by this woman in front of him was completely different from the crude spirit technique he had seen in the past. Don't look at the 5-colored ribbon moving slowly. In fact, she had already locked onto the surrounding 5 elements. No matter where the old fogey moved, the 5-element space blockade would instantly form and lock him in place. If the old fogey didn't move, he would still end up dead. It was just like his ice sealing space, except that his ice sealing space had a mutated attribute. Moreover, this 5-colored ribbon also hit a vicious spatial crack in the middle. As long as the old fogey fell into the 5-element space, his life and death would be beyond his control. Ning Cheng didn't move. The old fogey was an ancient heavenly emperor. If he couldn't even deal with a woman, then he really wouldn't live up to his name. The other woman didn't move. She didn't even look at her companion's movements. Instead, she looked at an E beside Ning Cheng. When she looked at an E, her eyes suddenly flashed with a trace of surprise. Chapter 1238. The old man chuckled and blasted out the cosmic cauldron, sweeping up thousands of Tao runes and laws. The mountain-like cauldron shadow collided with the soft multicolored ribbons, giving rise to an intense rumbling sound. Crack. It was as if something had been smashed, and a vacuum space appeared under the old man's cosmic cauldron. The silent 5-element spatial shackles did not take shape under the old man's cosmic cauldron. Even so, the old man did not stop. After tearing the 5-element spatial shackles apart, the cosmic cauldron blasted the center of the 5-colored ribbons. The hidden spatial devouring crack collapsed under the old man's cosmic cauldron. Puff! The woman who threw out the ribbon spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. Only then did the woman who had been looking at an E realize that her companion had lost. She flew backward immediately and caught the woman who had spat out blood. Then, she stared at the old man in shock. "You're at the early stage of Tao integration, but your Tao runes are so profound. 2 caterpillars dare to be rude to me. Get lost. Don't anger your grandpa Ping Ding," the old man said disdainfully as he grabbed the cosmic cauldron in the void. All the experts in the Great Change Realm did not speak. Although Great Emperor Ping Ding was at the early stage of Tao integration, who was Ping Ding? He was an ancient great emperor. It was very normal for him to be able to easily slap an early-stage Tao integration woman from the 7 deities temple. He had even killed Su Xinghe with ease. The woman did not refute the old man's sarcastic words. Instead, the two of them landed in front of everyone again. The two of them did not continue to fight. They just stood there in the void, looking equally beautiful and equally tall. You do have the ability to look down on us. I'm the sixth temple master of the seven deities temple, He Shanli, and the one beside me is the seventh temple master, Yuan Yi. You have two choices. One is for us to leave now, and the other is for you to come with us. The woman on the left spoke in a tone that was devoid of color. The old man was stunned. These two women had clearly lost just now. Why were they still speaking so confidently? Jia Xinshui frowned slightly and stepped forward with cupped fists. Two temple masters, this is a friend of the Great Change Realm. She has also helped the Great Change Realm kill the demonic creatures. You're Jia Xinshui, a Dao Lord of the Taishian Dao Court. If you are good enough as a Dao Lord, the Seven Gods Hall doesn't mind kicking you out. Don't think that just because the Taishian Dao Court has a powerful guardian, you are not qualified to speak here. He Shanli did not wait for Jia Xinshui to finish speaking and interrupted him rudely. Ning Qing slightly frowned. Jia Xin Shui had good intentions. The Seven Gods Temple was simply too arrogant, it was actually threatening a Dao Lord in such a manner. However, looking at the 6th Hall Master and the 7th Hall Master, one was at the Dao Integration Intermediate stage, while the other was at the Dao Integration Initial stage. It seemed like the 7 Hall Masters of the 7 Divine Palaces were all Dao integration experts. No wonder they were so arrogant. And you can return to the 7 Deities Palace with us. The 1st Hall Master will definitely treat you differently. Yuan Yi said as she pointed at an Yi who was wearing a light blue dress. She did not know why she wanted to take an Yi away. Hearing that an Yi had to go with them, Ning Cheng's face turned cold. Is the 7 shrines that great? Since it was so impressive, why was there no one from the 7 deities temple when the Tai Yi demonic creatures erupted? A group of selfish blood-sucking worms that only knew how to use resources and didn't know how to fulfill their obligations. Get lost, go back to where you came from, don't embarrass yourself here. While speaking, Ning Cheng raised his hand and blasted out several time wheels. The faces of the 2 hall masters of the 7 deities temple changed. Ning Cheng's words did not give them any face at all. However, in the face of Ning Cheng's time wheels, the two could only retreat quickly. With a whistling sound, the place where the two had just stood in the air turned into a flat plain, as if it had been sliced by the Tao. Although the 2 hall masters were not injured, both of them knew that Ning Cheng's move was a disdainful insult. It was like chasing the two away like dogs. Good, good. He Shanli's face turned livid, and she raised her hand and shot out a red light. It seems that the 7 deities temple has not come out for a long time, and many people have forgotten about it. Jia Xinshui saw Ning Cheng standing up for him and secretly felt grateful. Although Ning Cheng did not do it for him, only Ning Cheng did not fear the 7 deities temple. Bai Ling, who had not spoken until now, suddenly said, Dao Lord Ning is right. The 7 deities temple is indeed a selfish parasite. The demonic creatures are wreaking havoc in the Great Change Realm, and all the human cultivators in the Great Change Realm are contributing. Even the people who have a grudge with each other are contributing their strength here. Only the 7 deities temple, not only did not contribute, but also became overbearing. He, standing up for Su Xinghe. Su Xinghe is just a dog of the 7 deities temple. Bai Ling, do you dare to be arrogant to my 7 deities temple just because Yaohua Dao Court has Gu Ruoxi? I still say the same thing, just like Jia Xinshui, keep your tail between your legs. He Shanli's tone turned even colder. Jia Xinshui was a Dao Lord of a court, not to mention in front of Dao Lord Ning Cheng, whom he respected. At this time, being constantly insulted by a woman, how could he bear it? It's fine if the 7 deities temple is a turtle, but don't point your fingers here. In Dao Lord Ning's words, go back to where you came from. The two Tao lords stood up, and He Shanli's face turned ugly. The seventh hall master Wan Yi, who had not spoken, suddenly sent a voice transmission to He Shanli. Sixth sister, that Tao Lord Ning should be a Tao Lord of the Taisu Tao court, right? This person is very strong and can command several Tao integration experts. The guy who fought with me just now is not simple. Together with the great Xian in Yaohua Tao court, we still. Although He Shanli was angry, she did not continue to flip out. Seeing that the two of them did not leave, the old man suddenly said, "The seven deities temple is very arrogant. Xingwen Realm Lord, you don't seem to be a good realm lord. The two hall masters came, but they didn't see you." Yin Xingwen's expression remained the same, and he did not get angry because of the old man's words. Yaohua Dao Court's Gu Ruoshi said softly, "They do have the capital to be arrogant. The Great Change Realm originally belonged to the 6 major Dao courts, and the Confucian Pavilion Dao Court was destroyed by the 7 deities temple. The reason is very simple. The 7 deities temple has taken a fancy to the Confucian Pavilion Dao Court's number 1 sacred city, Micro Jade Sacred City. In addition, they pretend to be mysterious. Whoever dares to disrespect the 7 deities temple will be destroyed. Over the years, they have gained some false reputation." Ning Cheng understood the meaning of Gu Ruoshi's words. Since Gu Ruoshi had even said this, she obviously intended to support him and not give the 7 deities temple any face. At the same time, he also understood why He Shanli spoke so arrogantly and looked down on everyone. This might not necessarily be intentional, it was to maintain a kind of arrogant arrogance. Of course, it was more of a kind of self-righteousness that had formed naturally over a long period of time. Boom! A roar reverberated in the sky, and then a crack appeared. Behind the crack, a beautiful chariot appeared. In the middle of the chariot sat a man in luxurious clothes. His face was fair and beardless, and he wore a great emperor's crown on his head. Beside him sat 3 stunning women. In addition, there were 18 beautiful maids of the same height serving on the side. Colorful clouds floated around the chariot, and around the colorful clouds were immortal cranes. The extravagance was extremely exaggerated. Based on the man's cultivation level, it was obvious that he was a peak Dao integration expert. Even the 3 stunning women by his side were Dao integration experts. Together with He Shanli and Wan Yi, there were already 6 Dao integration experts. Ning Cheng did not care about the man in luxurious clothes and the other Dao integration experts at all. His gaze fell on the beautiful chariot under the man. This was definitely a top-notch treasure, and it was not simple at all. Big brother. When He Shanli and Wan Yi saw the chariot, the coldness on their faces had long disappeared and turned into passionate admiration. Big brother? Ning Cheng was a little puzzled. Jia Xinshui, who was next to him, sent a voice transmission to Ning Cheng. Dao Lord Ning might not know, but this man is the 7 deities temple's first hall master, Mo Gu. The second hall master to the 7th hall master of the 7 deities temple are all women, and they are also the first hall master's cultivation partners. That's why they call him Brother Gu, not Big Brother. The man in luxurious clothes seemed to have heard Jia Xinshui's voice transmission. He glanced at Jia Xinshui with a smile and suddenly said in a gentle and warm tone, Li, quickly come to the chariot. It's cold outside. The old fart suddenly made a retching sound. So sour, so sour. This is simply making me vomit out the rice I ate 1,000,000 years ago. The man in luxurious clothes looked at the old fart and said in a flat tone, You killed Su Shenghe and injured my woman? He Shanli immediately said, Yes, Brother Gu. It's him. Speaking of this, she suddenly changed to a voice transmission. He also has a heaven and earth cauldron. I guess it's a Khanate treasure. Although it was a voice transmission, it still fell into Ning Cheng's ears. Sure enough, after the man in luxurious clothes heard this, his eyes shrank and he looked away from the old fart. Yin Xingwen saw the man in luxurious clothes looking over and quickly stepped forward with cupped fists. Hall Master Mo, long time no see. The man in luxurious clothes smiled softly. It's indeed been a long time. Congratulations, Realm Lord Xingwen. Yin Xingwen knew why the man in luxurious clothes congratulated him. This was to congratulate him for taking control of the Luying Dao court. However, he just smiled and did not speak. The man in luxurious clothes did not ask any more. Instead, his gaze fell on Ning Cheng. This must be Dao Lord Tai Su Ning Cheng, the one who told my 7 deities hall masters to scram, right? Sure enough, you look talented. Your cultivation level is also not bad. Both are at the early stage primordial chaos realm. Let's get to know each other. I am the 7 deities hall master, Mo Gu. Ning Cheng had long since grown tired of this kind of speech. At this moment, when the man in luxurious clothes spoke to him, he said without any trace of politeness, you can also scram. Don't affect this father's mood. Mo Gu did not seem to care about Ning Cheng's impoliteness. He still said with a smile, I like the woman beside you a lot. Today, I want to take her away. This time, Ning Cheng did not even bother to say, scram. Instead, his creation divine spear swept up with endless Dao runes and blasted over. When the surrounding people saw Ning Cheng make a move, they immediately made way. Ning Cheng's creation divine spear swept up a terrifying spatial killing aura and smashed towards Mo Gu like an entire realm. Chapter 1239. Ning Cheng's spear swept up a vast and majestic killing aura. Wei Xinghao, who had always thought that no matter how strong Ning Cheng was, he was just a primordial chaos sacred emperor. If he had used a spear, he would not have been able to display such terrifying power. Lord Hall Master Mo Gu, who also did not care about a mere primordial chaos sacred emperor like Ning Cheng, could no longer continue sitting in the carriage after Ning Cheng's spear shot out. Seeing Ning Cheng's spear, he knew that Ning Cheng's strength had far exceeded his estimation. He had been too lazy to get up from the carriage previously because Ning Cheng was just a primordial chaos sacred emperor and the old fart was just a Dao integration expert. As for Yin Xingwen, he was sure that the other party would not dare to attack him. Taixien Dao Court and Yaohua Dao Court. Ha. Was a battle between experts something that could be won with numbers? As Mo Gu rushed out of the carriage, he shouted sternly, Li, extract that Dao transformation woman's principal spirit. Leave her physical body behind. At the same time, aside from him, more than 20 women on the carriage also flew out in all directions. They were like dancing flowers in the air. Although these women's long skirts fluttered in the air, revealing an even more alluring scene, no one below paid attention to these women. All the experts retreated one after another, focusing all their attention on the confrontation between Ning Cheng and Mo Gu. After hearing Moge's words, 6th Hall Master He Shanli shouted, Sisters, help me stop that old thing called Sherding. I'll go capture the soul. As she spoke, He Shanli rushed towards an E. Boom! Crack! Ning Cheng's creation divine spear and Moge's carriage collided, sweeping up the shattered Dao rune laws that filled the sky. Ning Cheng's domain, which rarely cracked, also cracked at this moment. The layers of Dao runes outside Moge's carriage were directly torn apart by Ning Cheng. Neither of them had used their full strength in the first exchange. Although Ning Cheng had a slight upper hand, the cracks in his domain immediately affected an E. An E only had Dao transformation strength. Without Ning Cheng's protection, she could not even move under the suppression of a Dao integration expert's power. A deathly killing intent shrouded her head. Her face was a little pale, and she could only watch helplessly as He Shanli extracted her principal spirit. The old fart was blocked by the other 4 7 deities temple masters at this moment and could not split himself at all. Ning Cheng was so furious that he could no longer care about Mo Gu. He brought out the everlasting blue thunder city, and at the same time, he blasted the creation divine spear towards He Shanli. Puff! Before He Shanli's handprint could reach her head, an Yi had already spat out a mouthful of blood, and her primordial spirit was almost forcibly pulled out. Crack! As He Shanli was about to grab an Yi's Dao runes, the same moment He Shanli was an ice cage that locked in Cheng. Just as He Shanli was about to grab an Yi's essence spirit, a space that was like an ice cage locked her in place, preventing her Dao charm aura from advancing any further. Cheng had the intent. He Dao Rung He Yi would break. Mo God He Cheng grabbed En's Cheng, and tried. Dao Rung's Cheng, and said. Moge's face turned livid with anger. He didn't think that Ning Cheng would dare to turn around and attack his woman. Sky collapsing divine chariot. Mo Go took a step forward, and the magnificent chariot under him turned into a sky in an instant. This part of the sky completely enveloped Ning Cheng and directly pressed down on Ning Cheng. It was as if the entire sky had collapsed, and no power could stop it. The moment the chariot pressed down, the laws of heaven and earth shattered, and Ning Cheng's domain was torn apart. This was not a law-breaking divine ability, but it was more direct than Ning Cheng's law-breaking divine ability. Any law-breaking divine ability would be like floating clouds in the face of such a forceful crushing chariot. The sky-collapsing divine ability not only made Yin Xingwen's face turn ugly, but even the Dao lords of the Yaohua Dao court and the Taixien Dao court, who were ready to fall out with the seven deities temple, also had ugly expressions. Once such a terrifying divine ability came crashing down, even tens of millions of Dao court soldiers would not be able to withstand it. Boom, Kacha, the violent and majestic sky-collapsing divine chariot slammed into Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort. In an instant, the everlasting blue thunder fort dissipated and returned to normal. After a few cracks appeared, it directly retreated into Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness. Pfft! Ning Cheng's bones shattered inch by inch, and his body was covered in cracks and blood. Even so, Ning Cheng did not have the slightest thought of turning back to resist Mo Gu. The creation divine spear still swept up the sky full of killing intent and blasted into the cracked ice-sealed space. A shrill scream came out, and Ning Cheng's creation divine spear suddenly stopped. Time and space came to a standstill at this moment, and everyone's breathing stopped at this moment. Mo Gu looked at Ning Cheng's long spear in disbelief. Ning Cheng's long spear carried a woman. It was He Shanli, who was about to kill an Yi and take away her essence spirit. After a few breaths, Mo Gu suddenly screamed, "How dare you kill my Shanli? I will swallow your flesh, drink your blood, and burn your essence spirit for billions of years." The creation divine spear in Ning Cheng's hand suddenly trembled, and He Shanli, who was at the spearhead, disappeared from the entire space like air. Ning Cheng raised his hand and swallowed a few medicinal pills. Moge's injuries looked more terrible than the giant void hand, but in fact, the damage to him was far less than the previous explosion from the void. Kacha kacha. Almost in a flash, Ning Cheng's bones reassembled, and his injuries healed by 90%. The strength of a body-refining expert was vividly reflected at this moment. An Yi's essence spirit returned to her body, and her body also relaxed. She knew that continuing to stay in the front would only bring trouble to Ning Cheng, so she quickly retreated. "Are you a body-refining expert with a true sage body?" Mo Gu saw that Ning Cheng's injuries had almost recovered in a short period of time. Instead, he stopped what he was about to do and calmed down. He stared at Ning Cheng with cold eyes. Ning Cheng ignored Mo Gu and looked at the old fogey. The old fogey was at a disadvantage against four people. If it weren't for his universal palace, the old fogey would have already lost and fled. "Dao Lord Ning, go ahead and deal with Mo Gu. I'll help Sacred Emperor Ping Cauldron." Gu Ruoshi, who had been hesitating, stood up after seeing Ning Cheng kill the sixth hall master. The seven deity temples were very mysterious, but this kind of mystery was only relative to ordinary people. For some Tao integration powerhouses, they were not completely ignorant of the 7 deity temples. Lord Hall Master Mo Gu loved the other 6 Hall Masters to the bone. Now that Ning Cheng had killed the 6th Hall Master, this matter could no longer be reconciled. Once Ning Cheng lost, the Yaohua Dao court would face the revenge of the 7 deity temples. Instead of waiting to fight to the death with the 7 deity temples in the future, it was better to make a move now. If they made a move now, it was still unknown who would win. There's also me, Wuxia Yoshin. A tall man standing behind Jia Xinshui stood up. He was also a Dao integration powerhouse. Jia Xinshui said to Ning Cheng, Senior Wuxia is the guardian of the Taishan Dao court. Dao Lord Ning, let's advance and retreat together this time. He had the same thoughts as Gu Ruoshi. If no one had died, this matter could still be discussed. Now that Ning Cheng had killed the 6th Hall Master, this matter had long become a dead end. Ning Cheng nodded. He did not need to say anything to the old man. Since he had killed the 6th Hall Master, the old man would definitely kill him in the next battle. This kind of ancient expert, let alone a few Hall Masters, even if he were to annihilate all 7 divine halls, he would not even frown. Mo Gu stared at Ning Cheng with a gloomy expression. Even if I can't kill you today, I will let you know the consequences of offending the 7 deity temples. I will let the souls of everyone who knows you suffer before they die. I will let you always remember that no matter how strong you are, there are some people you cannot touch. Moge's anger disappeared and he became terrifyingly calm. The carriage under his feet suddenly split apart and turned into a 5-colored weak Dao pattern. In a breath's time, this weak Dao pattern completely enveloped the space where he and Ning Cheng were, forming a world. World creation. Ning Cheng cried out in shock when he felt his spiritual consciousness and vision being blocked. This was not space control, but world control. No, Ning Cheng quickly understood that Mo Gu had not reached the world creation realm. This was just a world simulated by the chariot. Ning Cheng once again brought out the Good Fortune Divine Spear, but he was horrified to find that his Good Fortune Divine Spear could not sweep up this killing power. Everything here did not belong to him. Several time wheels shot out, only to bring back a few dull sounds. Then, like mud falling into the sea. What kind of spirit technique was this? Ning Cheng had just thought of this when a crisis of death seeped into his consciousness. Ning Cheng's figure flashed slightly, and with a puff sound, a blade light flashed across his waist, almost tearing his clothes apart. Ning Cheng's heart sank. A blade light could not make him feel a crisis of death. The only possibility was that this blade light contained a terrifying spirit technique or some kind of insidious poison. The surrounding domain seemed to become more and more solid, but also darker and darker. Although he couldn't see where Mo Gu was, Ning Cheng felt sure that Mo Gu was not far from him, staring at him like a poisonous snake. This chariot was a treasure that could simulate a world creation spirit technique. Ning Cheng also calmed down and no longer looked for Mo Gu. Instead, he raised his hand and cast out a spirit technique, none to depend on. Looking at Moge's sincere love for his Dao companions, as long as this fellow hid to the side, the none to depend on spirit technique could find him. None to depend on was a Dao sense spirit technique. At this time, Ning Cheng's Dao charm had solidified. When he cast none to depend on, its effect was no weaker than the chariot's world creation spirit technique. None to depend on, yellow sand rises. West Wind Ancient Road has a skinny horse, relying on each other for a long time with tears. Yellow sand suddenly rolled up in the grayish space. The yellow sand grew stronger from weak to strong and finally formed a yellow sand ripple. Then, a long ancient road slowly emerged from the yellow sand. Ning Cheng suddenly grabbed a barrel of none to depend on wine and gulped it down in a few mouthfuls. As the Dao charm of none to depend on grew stronger, the ancient road under the yellow sand grew more and more vicissitudes of life. However, there was no one on the ancient road. It was as if Mo Gu had disappeared. Ning Qing immediately sensed an even sharper deathly murderous intent. This time, Ning Qing didn't try to avoid the murderous intent. Instead, he grabbed the wine jar and took a step forward while singing loudly. Mysterious yellow rises, the body is like duckweed floating for millions of miles. Looking down at the vast starry sky, how many sword rains and saber lights, life and death are in a line. Crossing the void to see the good fortune, where can one obtain eternal life? The voice was hoarse and filled with vicissitudes of life, with a hint of alcohol. Chapter 1240. In the voice of the vicissitudes of life, Mo Gu, who had disappeared, finally set foot on the long ancient road. Mo Gu held a circle of light shadows with death aura in his hand, and his face seemed to be constantly changing. None to depend on, yellow sand rises, a thin horse on the west wind ancient road relying on each other for a long time with tears, none to depend on, don't abandon your heart. Looking at each other from afar, it's better to turn around and leave each other. On the opposite side of Mo Gu, under the hazy yellow sand, a figure slowly appeared on the long ancient path. It was a pretty woman, leading a thin and weak old horse. She vaguely looked like He Shanli. Moge's eyes suddenly filled with pity and self-blame. Unlike the other cultivators who fell into the none to depend on divine power, he did not hesitate to rush towards He Shanli instead of turning around and leaving. Ning Qing gripped the creation divine spear tightly and did not attack Mo Gu at the best time. He Shanli's appearance here showed what Mo Gu was thinking. This was the condensation of the Tao runes deep in his heart. Ning Qing really did not have the heart to make a move at this time because Mo Gu was the first person who did not abandon his Tao companion after falling into the none to depend on divine power. Seeing that Mo Gu was about to rush to He Shanli's side, Ning Qing knew that he could not hesitate anymore. The creation divine spear swept up thousands of spear lights and Tao runes, directly crossing the space and blasting towards Mo Gu. Mo Gu, who was about to reach He Shanli, suddenly trembled. The confusion in his eyes disappeared instantly, and the next moment, he held the death light shadow in his hand and smashed it towards Ning Qing. Boom! The traceless spear pattern and the light shadow collided, and an explosion of Tao runes filled the sky. The surrounding laws were no longer traceless, but under this explosion of Tao runes, they shattered inch by inch. The yellow sand in the sky disappeared, and the thin horse on the ancient road disappeared. Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness and vision were no longer obstructed and became clear. Poof! The traceless spear pattern brought up a bloody mist, and a few light shadows passed through Ning Cheng's domain at the same time and blasted Ning Cheng's body. Ka, the vague world formed by the chariot disappeared without a trace. Ning Qing gripped the creation divine spear and faced Mo Gu in the void. The blood on Moge's eyebrows was eroded by the traceless spear intent and could not be stopped at all. It slid down Moge's face. Moge's face was expressionless as his eyes fell on the old man. At this time, only two of the four hall masters were left fighting the old man, Gu Ruoshi, and Wuxia Yoshin. The other two were already dead on the ground. Gu Ruoshi was also in Bai Ling's arms. It was unknown whether she was dead or alive. Even though this space was protected by the domains of the people who didn't participate in the battle, it was still filled with ravines and chaos. Unlike He Shanli's death, Mo Gu had lost two more women. However, the madness on his face was gone. However, the ice-cold killing intent in his eyes grew stronger and stronger. That kind of hatred was like the Yangtze River and the sea. Man, you and Bing Bing take Shu, and Er's bodies and leave immediately. If I don't come back, tell Cherry Blossoms. Cherry Blossoms will avenge me. After Mo Gu finished speaking, he once again turned his gaze towards Ning Qing. Yes. The remaining two women did not hesitate to pick up the two corpses on the ground and quickly retreated. The 18 maids who hadn't made a move all this while also retreated quickly. The old fart didn't stop him, but he was also heavily injured. The woman who had retreated just now was not any weaker than him. When he killed the 7th palace master named Ruan Yi, the other party had plotted against him. If Ning Qing hadn't been there, he would have escaped long ago. The old fart didn't stop him, and Wuxia Yoshin naturally didn't stop him either. He was also seriously injured. If the other party didn't retreat, he might end up like Gu Ruashi. It wasn't that Ning Qing didn't want to move, but he couldn't. His previous guess was right. Moge's light and shadow contained extremely terrifying toxins. It actually obstructed the flow of his Dao charm and even started to corrode his sea of consciousness. At this time, Ning Qing was trying his best to contain the invasion of the poison. Before this, the most powerful poison Ning Qing had seen was the pattern bone poison. Ning Qing definitely wasn't any weaker than the pattern bone poison. The pattern bone poison was one of the top 10 poisons in the world. Ning Qing guessed that the poison in his body must also be one of the top 10 poisons. Not only was Moge powerful and had terrifying spiritual power, but his use of poison was also appalling. Even with his current strength and understanding of the Tao, Moge still managed to seriously injure him after breaking free from the Nuntadependon poison. This Moge's tyrannical strength was unbelievable. Just as he said, he truly had the ability to be arrogant. After the 20 women left, Moge stared at Ning Qing and said, "You're the strongest person I've ever seen since I started cultivating. Your intent realm spirit technique was very powerful. If you hadn't gone soft, you would have killed me. However, you've killed my woman, so I'll definitely kill everyone around you. Then, I'll use the most vicious fire to burn your primordial spirit. You won't have the chance." Ning Qing forcibly sealed the toxins in his body. He knew that Moge was also forcibly expelling the Dao charm from his spear intent. Crush. Moge unleashed his spirit technique while Ning Qing spoke. The restored chariot rolled up once again, and the chariot turned into 7 colors. These 7 colors merged with the surrounding laws of heaven and earth and instantly formed a 7-color Dao charm. The 7-color Dao charm filled the space between heaven and earth and swept towards Ning Qing like raging waves. Compared to this 7-color Dao charm, the 7th Hall Master's 5-element spatial shackles felt like a baby learning to walk. Ning Qing gripped the creation divine spear tightly and took a small step forward. He then raised his hand and unleashed a spirit technique. The law-breaking spirit technique wouldn't have much effect in the face of this 7-color Dao charm. From the time he fought against Moge until now, Ning Qing already knew that Moge was a top-notch expert. Moreover, like him, Moge could control laws. Even if he used the law-breaking spirit technique, the 7-color Dao charm of the chariot could still derive its own laws. Just like the fake world from before, with his current cultivation, the laws couldn't interfere with it. What Ning Qing brought out was the 4th Yellow Springs Bridge. A long yellow river came from the void and roared around Ning Qing. The long cyan bridge landed under Ning Qing's feet. As soon as the 4th Yellow Springs Bridge came out, the rolling long river and the 7-colored Dao charm collided. The 7-colored light and the yellow river's Dao charm exploded, and the surrounding spatial domain shattered inch by inch. Small void cracks appeared once again. The majestic Dao charm rolling over the Yellow Springs Bridge completely blocked the 7-color Dao charm that was about to imprison Ning Qing again. At this time, Ning Qing could exit Moge's 7-color Dao charm space at any time. Not waiting for the 2's Dao charm spirit techniques to explode, Ning Qing's sea of consciousness stirred, and the dark consciousness storm blasted out like an invisible sea. Passively taking a beating had never been Ning Qing's habit. As soon as the dark consciousness storm formed, Ning Qing's face suddenly turned pale. Facing the 7-color Dao charm that was getting more and more restrictive, Ning Qing not only didn't retreat, but also took a step forward. The dark consciousness storm formed an even more terrifying spiritual consciousness attack. Dark Consciousness Explosion. Although shocked that Ning Cheng even had the fourth Yellow Springs Bridge, Mo Gu didn't feel disappointed that the Yellow Springs Bridge had blocked the seven-color Dao charm. Instead, a cold smile appeared on his face. Seven-color Dao Convergence, kill. The seven-color Dao charm's spatial shackles suddenly disappeared, and in a flash, it condensed into a Dao charm killing intent that directly ignored space and blasted into Ning Cheng's glabella. At the same time, Ning Cheng's dark consciousness explosion blasted into Moge's sea of consciousness. The cold smile on Moge's face froze, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He didn't hesitate to turn around, and the magnificent chariot landed under his feet. The next moment, he appeared on the horizon. Ning Cheng, even if I can't kill you this time, don't even think about. Moge's voice suddenly stopped, and his eyes showed a trace of fear in the face of death. His entire body also froze. An aura of death locked onto him. No matter how he moved, he would die without a doubt. Five-colored star splitter arrow. Since Mo Gu appeared, this was the first time his voice trembled. A trace of purple blood overflowed from the corner of Ning Cheng's mouth. His glabella, like Mo Gu, was also bleeding. If it weren't for the celestial river flame in his sea of consciousness, the seven-color Dao charm condensed from the Dao charm would have already exploded his sea of consciousness. The celestial river flame was a sacred flame with a fire spirit. Therefore, when this attack blasted into Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness, it immediately turned into a fiery light that wrapped around the Dao charm killing intent and burned it to ashes. Even so, the exploding killing intent still caused great damage to Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness. Fortunately, Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness was a starry sky sea of consciousness, which was tough and vast. Therefore, this kind of damage quickly disappeared. I told you, you can't get away. Ning Cheng's voice fell, and the five-colored star splitter arrow shot out with a tearing sound. At this moment, Ning Cheng's strength was no longer the same as before, which required him to gather power for half a day. Almost at the same time he brought out the five-colored star splitter arrow, the star splitter arrow, along with the aura of death, crossed space-time. A grayish deathly aura spread out, and everyone could only feel the aura of death wrapping around Mo Gu. However, they couldn't even see the shadow of the five-colored star splitter arrow. Bang! Moge's entire body collapsed under the impact of the five-colored star splitter arrow. Ning Cheng, who stood on the Yellow Springs Bridge, swayed slightly and even staggered a little. Ning Cheng swallowed several detoxification pills. He knew that these pills couldn't detoxify the poison in his body and could only temporarily suppress it. At least he managed to kill Mo Gu. Ning Cheng raised his hand and wanted to grab Moge's chariot and storage ring. A jade-like arm stretched out from the void, and a delicate white hand grabbed Moge's storage ring in front of Ning Cheng. It even swept away the chariot. Ning Cheng became furious. He had worked so hard to obtain this victory, but now it was going to become a wedding dress for others. Before Ning Cheng could speak, that jade-like hand grabbed the five-colored star splitter arrow that Ning Cheng had not yet taken back. Ning Cheng laughed out of anger. She even wanted his weapon. Was she bullying him because he was poisoned and seriously injured? A spiritual consciousness imprint shot out, and the jade-like hand grabbing the five-colored star splitter arrow suddenly exploded. The five-colored star splitter arrow directly cut through space and disappeared into Ning Cheng's wrist. Remember, my name is Zhu Yinghua, the Seven World Shrine's second temple master. One day, I will come find you. With these words, the torn void in the distance suddenly disappeared. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.